Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. I'm your host, Michael Andre Ford in San Antonio, Texas. Today, we have a fantastic guest from Canada, just outside Ontario, Tracy L Clark. And you'll remember her easily because that spells out TLC, and that's what she's all about. She's a super healer, hyper intuitive, helps with massive shifts in consciousness and people. If you want to think letting go of what's holding you back, blocks, obstacles, that's her. She's got a few books out. She's had a couple of shows. She's got 54,000 followers on TikTok and much more than that. She's had also a bunch of illnesses, near-death experiences starting out in life. It's helped build a huge foundation. And so even though she's been doing what she's been doing for a very long time, I think you're about to see even greater heights for her. She's already hit a few recently. She's soaring, and I'm excited to bring Tracy on. You're going to love her. Fantastic energy, and wait till you hear her laugh. She's infectious. She's going to make your day. So Tracy L Clark, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. We're going to have some fun today. It's already started.
Yes. And she's, when I say she's intuitive or a healer, I'm understating everything. She feels it. And she's fantastic because she's in a place where she wants to pass it along and help people discover their own skills and help discover how to let go what needs release. That's what she's all about, in addition to lots of inspiration. So Tracy, tell us how you got started. Tell us anything. Do you want to tell us a near-death experience? Where do you want to take us?
Where do you want to start? Well, a lot of times it's interesting because people always say to me, how did you end up here? And you know what? I think that's kind of interesting for all of our journeys, and it's important for everyone to know. And the reason I always think it's important to know, because if somebody's listening going, I don't like where I am, or I know there's more inside, I like them to understand that I said this earlier today, spirit's always asking, listening, we're talking, we think spirit's never listening. We are not listening. We don't listen. We have our own ideas, agendas. And when we start listening, then the door always opens. So yeah, I had, it was interesting. In my book, I always say I had 3 near-death experiences, but actually I sat with somebody one day, I think I had like 7. So I should be like a cat. I should be almost dead, right? They're like, well, that's one. And I'm like, I never looked at it that way. But basically, when we all come into this world, and I was that little kid, I was 5 years old. And I always tell the story. I remember I was, I don't think they have this anymore, but in Canada, it's really cold in the winter. So most people know this is freezing. So we have skating rinks. So we're outside our school, like the schools would put up skating rinks. So with these big, like hockey sized skating rinks, right? And I would walk around it as a 5-year-old. I remember saying to my friend, like, I feel like an old lady in my body. Like, I don't fit here. I don't know why I'm here. And I always had these tragedies. And obviously when I came in, I was born really, really sick. I was supposed to, I was going to die, but miraculously, this doctor came into this town. I was born in a town called Flin Flon. Think about that. But I'll tell you the funny thing about the name. It's a gold mining town. So I always joke and say I was born on a pot of gold. So, but it's fun, right? But at the same time, so this doctor came and he realized what happened. But I was born with so many ailments, and something that, as we get older and we look at how we transition into what we're doing, I was literally so I was born in 1971. I don't know if people understand this. 1971 was the year I was born, the year that I almost died, the year that I call it the yucky energies, tried to take me out kind of thing. That was also the year that the dark energies anchored into the planet to where we are now that we're breaking free of. And I thought, isn't that interesting that was also the year they put their agenda in, and there was many of us born, right? Kind of within those couple of years, but I'm like, that was the year that solidified it. And so I thought, oh, now I know I get it, right? As to why I was born sick and to why like everything possible should have taken me out. And I said, when I look back, something kept pulling me out, right? But when you start to face a lot of health issues and near-death experiences, trust me, you get really mad. You get really angry. I had a lot of trauma, abandonment, abuse. Like I went through the gamut, and lots of people have their stories. It's not about it's not about that. But when I actually And I say open the door if people are listening, when I actually was like on my hands and knees going, I don't think there's anything out here. This is like, I'm just ready to die again because I was just done. And I remember this is how I transition because I sold my first company in 96, one of Canada's largestly publicly traded companies. I was young. I had a lot of flack for it, like must be nice. That's why I kind of like when people ask me, I like the business side too. And I talk on my TikTok about finances and things because that was my world, right? And but I hated it. And I just did it because it was like something you were supposed to do, you know, you're supposed to do something. So I went into business. And school and I were not friends. I'm sure you can relate. Many empaths were not, none of us aware people are friends with the school system. And I went on a plane, and this was it. I'd hit the breaking point. I'd had these near-death experiences. I had lots of illness, lots of trauma, lots of things that came up. Like I was kidnapped at 5 in Canada with a gun to my head. Like Canada. You think Canada is all like nice and nice and nicey, right? And I remember that because I kept saying to my mom, because I was always sick. I lived on a mask. I was this weak little kid. I shook like this all the time because my nerve system was so damaged. And I kept saying, I don't like that man. He scares me. Oh, you're just too sensitive. There's something wrong with that man. He'd be in the community. And I said, he scares me. Ah, you're too sensitive. Well, I was right. I was right. He scared me for a reason because he was very off his rocker. And his whole agenda was to take me, my sister, another girl, get us into this basement of a house and do what he could with us. And actually it was interesting because the one I don't know why we're going here, but I guess we're supposed to. I wasn't going to go there. But I think because people have to understand that our traumas get us to great victories if we look inside, and which opened my gift. And this is how one of my gifts. So I was always a really good feeler. I could feel everything as a child. And when this incident happened, the one girl, no accident, she was an afterthought. She was raised by a biker brother. So she had some good skills, thank God, right? And as she escaped for help, he took after her. My sister was trying to get out of the dugout and she couldn't get me out. She's like, I'm going to come back and get you. I'm going to come back and get you. And so she took off for help. And this guy came back. He was so mad. Like he was livid because now there's 2 gone and there's me, little me. It's, just 5 years old. And when I say like frail and weak, like I had asthma, bronchitis, croup on top of all the others, a constant sickness, right? Which I learned later why. And he pulled me out of the house and he was so angry. And I remember he put my face in the ground and I passed out because he put his gun at the back of the head, but I could hear the sirens coming, right? And so this is in the 70s, guys.
I know.
Long time ago. And it opened a porthole. It actually opened a porthole where people thought, now they'd say, oh, trauma, PTSD. But I started seeing things that they would scare the bejesus out of most people, right? But yes, because of the trauma. But as I closed it down, and then later, I realized that it did open a portal, and it did because I kept having, I always call it new devil, new level. I kept having these enemy spirit attacks where they try to take me out, There was near-death experiences, and it just led to more stuff. But as I started to do this work and get in, I realized it did actually open my ability to see in different levels and to tune in different levels, even though it was showing trauma. Because in my near-death experiences, a lot of people just talk about, oh, I saw just the great things. Sure, I did on my last one, but I also saw as a child in my near-death experiences, the good and the bad. Like I saw a bunch of both, right? And I think it's important because we live in this world, and I didn't understand it for so long. But now, because I don't just see the glory things for people, because we also have to see the darker side to move to the glory things. But it doesn't bother me anymore. It did before. Like, trust me, I'm like, I don't want to see anymore. Don't show me. Especially sometimes if you turn on the TV, I don't want to see what's in those people, But it did open a lot of gifts. And I think for what happens with a lot of people, and it did with me as well, we get into the programming, the system. This is what you're supposed to do. This is accepted in society. And I did that, and I was so still sick and miserable. And when I started to move away from that and really understand, Because the reason I ended up where I am today, if you told me I was going to do this like full time 10 years ago, I would have told you were full of crap. I really would. You could have tried to tell me, I would have said no. But when I actually started to do my inner work, because I had my last space in the system with the expert was nothing more we can do for you. You're not going to live too long. We don't know what else we can do for you. Your body's failing. Well, it was failing because I had so much trauma and stress. And so I was led to my mentor at the time, who's no longer with us, and I credit her for saving my life. But I started to realize how powerful we all are, and became fascinated with the body. And I started to realize that every one of us has such incredible gifts, and they've all been buried. And I was just fascinated, like a little sponge. And my doctors were like, what's happening? How do you not have that anymore? How do you not have that anymore? This doesn't make sense. Like, and my one doctor, she was so funny, because I tell you, I went to see her 5 years into my journey, and I said, something's wrong in my cervix. No, you're fine. I said, no, something's wrong. I said, I think I'm getting rid of my anger with my ex-husband. She's like, okay, Trace, I am not going to discount you, but I know this sounds crazy, but I can't explain what's going on. So just keep doing this, but let's check. And I was right. There was definitely something wrong. Good enough that I knew intuitively enough, because we caught it early enough, and we had to work for a year, and we did our thing together. And I did my way. We monitored, and a year to the day, everything was good. But what it really opened is that the more we understand what's going on in our bodies, the more we understand what's going on in our environment. And it solidified for me that I became so passionate, because I'm like, if I can do this, I pretty much raised myself from 2. I didn't have any guidance or support. I never had anyone to say, here's $5 to help you out. Like, I wasn't that person. Like, it was always like, why don't I ever get a leg up? Why don't I ever get the break? And I look back and I went, Spirit had every block. And the more I listened, and the more I went through that space, because when I finally had enough, I was on a plane, believe it or not, to Vegas. I'd never been to Vegas in my life. And I was on a plane, and I was 2 pounds, couldn't eat, couldn't do anything, literally 2 pounds. I'm 5'10". I think I was down to 125 pounds. It was pretty gross. And I sat on that plane and I said, God, like, if there's anything up there, because I didn't believe at this point, I'm like, if there's anybody, anything, I need to see this, 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 and this. And that was it. And I was going to meet my mom, actually, my grandma. They were going, they wanted us to come. I'm like, oh, okay, guess we'll go. But I always give everything a good shot. I have to tell you, that trip actually changed my life. Spirit showed me everything I asked for. I came home, I left the marriage, I started to do the work I needed to do instantly. And Spirit kept opening the doors. And I always say to people, sometimes you don't believe in God or universe divine, whatever you want to call it. And it's because it's hard, but the more you actually communicate, and this and look, the more the doors open, and the more you believe, because when you believe in what you can't see, it's coming, because you can feel it. And it was totally transformational, and I know that's kind of a roundabout way to go. And you can ask, because there's so many pieces, and sometimes you don't know where to start. But I say to people, you're always on a brink of a miracle if you're listening to Spirit. You have to listen.
Tracy, that's beautiful. Okay. Tell us something more about what a person can do right now to take the first step for just letting go of what they think their life story is, the drama, my problem is, their situation. How can they open up more in this very moment, since now is all there is, to hear the next part of the Tracy L Clark show, even though we're talking that's, out there on Spotify, Deezer, Apple, on everything. This is kind of her own version. When she talks, you figured this out. She's communicating a lot more than just the words. So Tracy, take us on the next installment, but how can people begin the opening even in this moment right now as they hear more from you?
Well, I always say, tune into your hard drive. You have a hard drive on your computer. What happens, Miss Mike, what happens if you take your hard drive out of your computer? You don't have any computer, right? Your computer doesn't work. So your hard drive is your most powerful center in your whole body, right? So we're given our soul and our spirit. This is our meat suit while we're here, right? Our meat suit while we're here. Here we are. We just get to borrow it. I'm sure you and I have been in many lifetimes. Many of us have been lifetimes, male, female, whatever. Our meat suit, this is who we are. And so I say, tune into your heart drive. And if you can go from this brain, which we've been conditioned in program, and you just tune into your heart drive. And one thing I always say to people is, as you tune in, I always like to tap it, because there is, or you can rub it. There is a lot of good. I spend a lot of time overseas, and there's a lot of truth to cultures that have tuned in to tapping or rubbing their heart drive. But I say the heart drive because it activates it and stimulates it. And then I always say to people, if you can just look and for a minute, just drop. So visualize like a pond, like a beautiful still pond in the heart. And you brought that pebble down into the heart drive and let the ripples out. And you just ask. I always say, thank you, God. You can say universe divine, but I like, thank you, God. What are the next steps? What am I not seeing? Show me the truth of where I'm to go next. Show me the truth of where my next step is. And even when you're in there, if people start to, I always say, you're releasing whatever's old, but sometimes the body is so intuitive. I'm like, even if you look and you hold the heart drive, show me the truth. What's next? This is the old. I'm letting that go. I'm coming here and I'm pressing into what's new. The energy will start to move, and people, they start to feel it. But here's the thing is, even if you don't feel it, it doesn't mean, and you know this, it doesn't mean it's not moving, guys. It doesn't mean that, because we've been so conditioned that it's this, but it's actually this. And that's why I call it the heart drive, because if you look at your body, you can cut and turn, and your body's brilliant. It starts to move its way around, and it grieves, it loses an organ. You can't touch your heart. You can't even take a sliver out of that heart, or you're done. You're done, unless you get a full replacement, and that's a whole different person, because now you have two bodies in one. Yeah.
So how can we enjoy more abundance in our lives? You're giving us some of the steps right now, but if I always love to say, like, positivity is abundance, but give us more about the concept of abundance, how it's waiting for us, it's in us, it's around us, and we only have to kind of tune in, pay attention, like you said. What do we do to take stock? How can we actually get moving and start living our lives better?
Well, a lot of times what I say to people is, I always like to use that word of bringing in overflow, because I believe we can have overflow of everything, right? And I like the word abundance, but sometimes I think that it can get a little mixed up. Everybody uses it, but there's abundance of things I don't want. So I'm very clear of the overflow of things I do want. And that's okay. Like, whatever you guys like to use for words, that's fine. But a lot of times too, when you're looking to create overflow in your life, it's really important to just stop in the energy and look at your life first. Because here's also the other thing is, people get frustrated, and I always equate it back. I'm going to, like, your health is your wealth. Number one, your connection is number one, then your health. Then I say, all of your feelings, your bodies, everything, and everything else is down below. The reason that I'm going to bring this up into a financial space is because everybody can relate. So maybe people can't relate to a health, or they can't relate to connection yet. They're learning. But if you want overflow in that area, sometimes people get really frustrated because it comes later. It doesn't mean it's not coming. It doesn't mean that overflow of love isn't coming, or that overflow of finance isn't coming, or that overflow of connection. But what spirit, I've learned, does for a lot of people, and this is where people want to pay attention, it is always working in your highest and best interest. So here's the thing. If you bring in an abundance of overflow, and you're with that person that's going to take it, rip you off, move it, it may not come to you right now. And you're going to know that. You're going to be like, something's wrong in my relationship. Or if you're looking for intuitive gifts, Spirit showed me this a lot. I'll share this and see what your thought is. All of us have these incredible supernatural gifts. Why do you think people love Marvel comics and sci-fi? Like, anybody reads my book, I admit it, I am the biggest Yoda fan on the planet. You will find Yoda all over my house. I am the biggest nerd.
And the poster behind you.
And everything behind. I'm telling you guys, superhero. Yeah, somebody made that. That's a cartoon, not me. I always laugh. But we're having fun. You got to have fun in the spirit. And it was actually the Star Wars movie that woke me up, really, as a very little child. in the 70s, I'm watching this little green man on TV or in the theater, right? And I look over my dad, I'm like, oh my God, we can be like that. We can have superpowers, and they're like, you're just some crazy little kid. Like, okay, whatever, keep dreaming, whatever. But it wasn't, because look at how many people love these movies. And it's because deep down, we all have unique superpowers. We do. But something spirits always said to me is, we got to keep awakening them, because we had other lifetimes where they were used, right? We have to keep awakening them, keep trusting in them, because there's been a guidance around all the people that know this, that it's in there. There's going to be a time that moves through over the next, it's our lifetime, and then well after we're gone, where these will be allowed to come out. And what they showed me is, because if they all came out now, so Michael, if you went outside and you started levitating, you'd be having net over you, and you'd be now they'd be monitoring you for whatever reason. So people laugh at that, but I'm like, no, I've seen it numerous times, and our job is to keep bringing it out. And there's going to be a day that all these unique gifts will come out, and they will be able to move, because we talk about energy, we talk about shifting, we talk about moving, and you can feel it, but that's just the tip of the iceberg of where we can go with it. So when people are wanting to create overflow, one of the biggest things in any area of life, you have to trust, know, and believe with every fiber of your body. And then you got to look at your life and be really honest. And this is where doing this work sucks. This is where people got it all wrong. I find a lot of times when they come, they think it's all like, beautiful puppy dogs and rainbows, and we're swirling the light. And it is. Trust me, we're having a lot of fun. But when you're really looking at breaking through the patterns, those are the parts where you go inside and go, oh, yeah, stop that. Oh, I got to not do that. But when you do it, Spirit keeps opening another door and another door and another door. And you will be surprised at how effortless. So you and I, we love to create because things become effortless. We're not sitting there now going, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm frustrated. But we did. I'm sure you did too when you first woke up, right? So
Oh,
now, yeah, right. When you wake up and we're like, I got to keep trying it. No, we need to look, pivot, because we have all of this programming that unfortunately and fortunately, some of it takes longer to release or let go. And some of it, you would be just, and even I'm going to share this because it's a personal story, but I share it with everybody. When I was 3, I guess 3, when I was 3, I remember my dad and my mom had a very bad relationship, and my mom had gone away, and my dad basically sent her a note, said, don't come back. I'll take care of the kids. I moved my girlfriend in. Like, okay. They were in their 20s. They didn't know what they were doing. Anyway, so my mom comes all the way from Germany. Back in the 70s, guys, like flying and stuff is a long time. Anyway, she came. Obviously, her and the girlfriend have a fight. We have suitcases. We're kicked out of the house at midnight. We end up in a women's shelter. We end up on welfare row. Now imagine the trauma of that, right? You've lost your home. You've lost your dad. You lost everything. Well, that created a whole abandonment situation. We also ended up with when we were in welfare row, lots of bullying, because the kids are angry there. So it was kind of rough, just a little bit, but it led to all this abandonment stuff. And it led to a lot of really poor choices as a young person, hence why I ended up in this abusive marriage. But when I started doing the work, I started to go within, and I stopped being angry at my dad. And I started to understand what was the gift in this, because I would not change one thing in my life, guys, because I would not be here without this. And I started to say, what's the gift in this? And I started to shift the energy for me and him. And what am I learning? What did I learn? What I need to go through? So I used to have a dream as a little kid. I would always say, when we were little, we were kind of made to go to church. I think everybody kind of had that moment. And my dad was anti-everything, anti-church, everything. Because my grandma was over religious, I guess you would say, united over religious. And so it was there was very difficult situations in there with their new partners and stuff like that. And I came to forgiveness, and I came to forgiveness with my father. And I came to a place where spirit kept opening the doors and transferring, and then I would transform again. People, and when I'd have these breakthroughs, people say, you look younger, you look more vibrant, or what's happening here, right? And I kept listening to spirit. Where did I need to go? I stopped blaming. I stopped getting mad. But I had this little wish my whole life that my dad would actually see who I became. So in November, so just this previous November, yep, in November. So 46 years later. This is why I say to people, you never know. You never know. 46 years later. So my stepmom was dying. She's passed now and she's on the other side helping all the time. I go see my dad. I hadn't been allowed to see him for 3 years. I would go every 2 years for like, I started going to see him every 2 years to repair things and stuff like that. He's a very quiet man, very simple man. And I went and he had a nap, she had a nap. I went and sat in the living room and the sun was pouring in and you could see all these angels, like the house was full of beings. And I've just put them down nap time, like you do with your kids, if you put your parents down for nap time. And he comes running out of the back room, running out, and he sits down and he's sobbing and he grabs my hand and he says, my God, like, I can't believe what I did to you. I was horrible. Like, how did you become this woman? Like, I gave you not 2 cents. You had to survive on your own. You've never had help. You've never had, and he just let it go. And I said, it's okay, Dad. I love you. He goes, I don't deserve to be called Dad. I shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. Like, I don't deserve any of this. And there was angels like everywhere. Like this house was full, like full. And he cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And I said, it's okay. And then, okay, so this goes on for about an hour. Next day, he comes running out again, same time. He continues to cry. My dad has no emotion. My dad, nobody's ever seen him cry but me. Nobody's ever seen him. And he looked at me and he said, I don't know how you did it. I'm so proud of you. And he says, you have so much compassion and forgiveness. You've done more work on yourself than anyone. And he says, I have a master's in social work and I sucked at it all. I couldn't parent. I couldn't parent you. Now he had 2 other kids with his wife, so they had a different experience. But to get that closure, now I can't begin to tell you guys, and people look at us and we do our work and they like, oh, that's easy. I'm going to tell you, life's been very good for a good period of time. But having that, I thought I would get it after he died on the other side, but I let it go. The bond has become very close, very close. And by getting that, I'm going to tell you, there was a whole other layer that lifted off my body that I didn't even know was there. And that's where when people doubt and they say it didn't happen on their time, they lose their faith. They don't dig in. If you keep going inside and keep moving and keep here, trust in your angels, trust in your guides, learn to talk to the energy, move the energy, because every bit you do, you're moving it. You never know what miracle can come on the other side.
So wherever you put your focus, honor that space and give it extra room, because you never know how big can really be.
Like healing in different ways when you've done it. And when people keep doing it, I say, use your energy to lead by example. Like, do you know, everywhere I walk, if here's a simple tool for people, everywhere you go, I always open my hands like this before I do energy work, because it's our power, right, with our heart. But I'll walk everyone, like, give them what they require. I say people, oh, give them what they would try. Thank you, God. Give them what they require. You can see a physical difference in their body. And then your energy will change. Like, I'm careful if I walk in to get some tea or something, because I've stood in line and people in front of me start crying and they don't know why. And then they're looking at me and they're like, but it's an energy transfer, right? So they can feel it. They can feel the love. And it's like, they're like, why am they're looking, I've had people go, why am I crying? And I'm like, it's okay. You're just healing. And if everybody takes this energy and understands that we all have it, we just have to keep looking to open it, but enjoy it. Because one thing I do, we have fun when we shift. Yeah, there's tears with people, but I tell you, we have a good time, because your angels and guides are always having a party. But we've been grilled to look at everything and carry those stories and carry the bags. But what people forget is all that energy, it sits in your body. That's why we have so many people so sick as they get older. It sits in the body. And then they get sick. And then they wonder why. I'm like, let it go. We're all here. And we're just, and now what's so cool about this time period, as much as people freak out, I say, don't freak out, because we've won already. Like spirits hit the earth on a whole like shockwave. But that's why you can feel there's this need to go deeper. And there's an energy that when your body starts to move forward like this. So I say to people, when you lean into the energy and you're asking for something and you're tuning into your body, do you know that's how the energy comes forward? Versus when people lean backwards, that's why you're pushing away. So if you notice at meetings, a lot of times if people are in work meetings, they're like, why am I always doing this? I'm like, yeah, because you don't want any of that energy. But when they're getting engaged or they're excited and they're bringing the energy in, so your body, your words, they shift. And for me, it's my voice. And I've had to learn to be very discerning how I use my voice because of the way it transfers energy. It's different. And I had to learn that. So we're always changing. We're always evolving.
Yeah, but let's talk about your laugh, because that's tremendously infectious and snarky, a little bit snarky in the whole spirit, universal love sort of way.
Yeah, I like to laugh. We don't laugh enough, and we got to laugh at ourselves because when you laugh, you release energy. But look at how much spirit responds to laughter and joy and this higher vibration. And the angels are having parties with you. Like, you know how many people I worked on, and they're like this. And I'm like, I can tell you something. Your spirit guides need you to lighten up a little bit because one, you're not talking to them. If you don't talk to them, they literally sit there having coffee going, okay, we're bored. What are you doing? Yeah, hello, right? You know that. And the angels are doing the same thing. But I'm like, when you talk to them and you laugh, they actually open doors quicker for you. There's a reason that so much of society is supposed to be so heavy and serious, especially as adults. And as kids, it gets kind of beaten out of us, right? Like, don't laugh, be quiet, sit down. And then they're like, you realize as we get in this world, it's like, oh, that was being done by the dark because that's how they keep you in there. But when you laugh and sing and dance and play instruments and having a good time, and you've seen it, spirit's like right there with you. And the creation and manifesting is on overdrive when you're doing that.
An angel named Joy, who's a pink ball of light, said, laugh more. Your laughter is hope and healing to others. And as she was just talking just now, I'm getting not around me balls of light, but I call it ice skating inside my eyesight, still external to me in a way, but I'm seeing light just show up saying hi. And I had to say, so look, laughter is love. Let's do Mother Teresa. And just the more you laugh, the more you're living, the more you're letting go. You don't even have to have a reason for laughing, just like we always say. You can be happy now in this very moment for no reason whatsoever. Now, whatever you're holding on to is going to put its hand up and say, but. So take it from there, if you could, Tracy. We've got all the buts, the thinking side, the structure, the concrete thinking, the resistance, the reacting, the fear, the worry, the stress. That side of us wants to put a red flag up and say, but we have to go do 2 years worth of work, and I need to go to Machu Picchu first. We can't possibly be here right now. Tell us more about how do you help people? How have you done it yourself? What's the most fun you've been having lately? Give us some more flavor.
Yeah, I want to share a testimonial of a client of mine because it's really cool about laughter and it's a really cool one. So, a lot of times when the body wants to let go of something, it will start laughing because laughter is healing, just like you said. So, he had a rare blood disease and he was seeing the doctors for all sorts of things. And he was in the office and he was laying down, and all of a sudden you could see where spirit just needed me to move some things around his body. He laughed for an hour nonstop. He's like, what is wrong? I can't stop laughing. There's all these people in. And just like you were saying with Joy, like even when we started, like my whole heart was just like pink, like this, like he laughed and laughed and laughed. He sent me a note probably about 2 weeks after that. He got his blood test back. They didn't understand they were reading normal. Think about that. And he was embarrassed because he was laughing. And I said, don't be embarrassed. It's the way the body's letting go. And we need to play. And then he was realizing, and so the more we play, the more we laugh, the more we get into this energy. I always say to people, if you're not playing and you're just in the stress, you actually close the energy of creation off. And I've seen it a lot of times. And I really have noticed that. And one of the things that I like to do, and it sounds a little crazy, but I will put music on in my house. I will laugh, sing, dance, and tell spirit what I need, what I'm looking for. I'm talking all the time to spirit. And I'm like, okay, move this, shift this. And we're, and everything's moving. And guys, you got to let go. Like, this is kind of funny. I started with my friends go-karting. Okay. This sounds funny because people are like, what's go-karting got to do with spirituality and moving? A lot. Because when I get in there, oh my God, it's a workout. If you haven't done it, I'll go-kart, I'll mini golf, I'll go bowling. I don't care. I paddleboard. I'm like, whatever. Don't ask me to jump out of a plane or skydive. No, I don't like heights. So that's not going to happen. But when I was in there, I can't begin to tell you, they were shocked that, like, you guys haven't go-kart before. When we first did, they're like, you're really well. Like, we were just ripping. But the amount of communication and open, because not only are you focusing, but I was just talking to spirit the whole time, and spirit was moving with me because I was also able to let go. And I was just like, anything that I can let go of, anything I don't know, or let go. And I want to create this. And this is something that people forget. They don't, if you're laughing and joking and you're like, thank you, God, I already have this in my life. Thank you, Spirit, I already have this in my life. Thank you, Spirit. Your body starts to recalibrate, because a lot of times when we're going, yeah, but, or I'm too busy, I always say to people, then you're not really in at all costs. And when we live, you and I live like this, and people go, oh, well, you live like that. That's what you do for a living. No, we fell into doing it because we love it, and we don't go to work. We go to the playground every day, right? We're always at the playground, but we live like this. And this is why, and I say to people, even if you're working in the bank or you're working at the hospital, you can live like this as well if you start to learn to communicate, because your system, when you're doing the doubts and the fear, and we have love, we have fear. I always say that. That's it. Everything falls under those two umbrellas. So you pick it. And I'm like, if you are always sitting there in the yeah, buts and doubts, you're kiboshing this whole beautiful world. And the way spirit just showed it to me, when you sit in the yeah, buts and the doubts all the time, and we were there, I was there, I'm guilty as charged. I had to learn this. It's like a desert, and you're taking all your energy and you're planting it in the desert, but there's no water. So nothing can be water, right? The old seeds, nothing's happening. But when you sit there and you're like, okay, I'm grateful for this. I'm connecting to my system. I'm laughing. I'm bringing the joy, even though there's things I'm working. You're not in denial, guys. You're not in denial. This becomes this lush rainforest of things that are just growing, and things that you would never even know that spirit's lining up for you. And that's what I found. If you're feeling down, if you want to, like, I always teach people how to talk to their body, right? There's a space where I'm like, not taking that in. Like, that talk to the hand, remember we say talk to the hand. Well, you can say to energy if something's not good, like, I'm not taking that in. Nope. I'm sending that back to you, spirit. I'm not taking it in. Your team's going to motor in, and they're going to get rid of it, and you'll feel better. But the doubt and the fear, what it's done is disconnected us from our pineal pituitary thymus. Because when our pineal pituitary thymus is in line, your midline is in line, your energy becomes strong. Your creation becomes more powerful. But this scares a lot of people, because what they say is, I'm getting these intuitive hits. Oh my God. And I'm like, and run with it. Oh no. What if I'm wrong? Run with it. You'll probably be right. You're going to be right. And the thing I say to people, the fun play, because I like to play in the spirit. This lady said to me one time, she goes, well, how do you know if something's right or wrong? I said, just run with it. Like, if spirit tells you, just run. You'd never be surprised. So this was funny, because she said, I would always say to people, it's like, if you see Barney, maybe there's something connected to Barney. And you can tell how my kids are big. They were little at that time, but I'd say, like, just say Barney. Maybe that relates to somebody. But at that time, before I said that, I saw Snuffleupagus, and I thought, now, Snuffleupagus, if people doesn't know, he's this big, funny looking character from Sesame Street from the 70s with, I don't know. Was he a kind of an elephant, kind of not, right?
Snuffleupagus. Yeah.
Snuffleupagus. I know, funny. Anyways, I see this picture of Snuffleupagus, and I said, so it's like, you see something like Snuffleupagus, you say Snuffleupagus. And she went, what did you just say? And I said, Snuffleupagus. She goes, why did you say that? And I said, because I just saw a picture of Snuffy. I was going to say Barney, but they put Snuffleupagus. She goes, okay, don't tell anyone this. I'm a 50-year-old woman, and I have a whole bunch of Snuffies in my basement because I love Snuffleupagus. It makes me feel like a kid. And I said, there you go. Spirit approved. And she's like, I get it. See, so we're taught to doubt. We're taught to second guess. But the more, and listen to your body. So when your body's calm, run with it. If it's feeling a little anxious, you might want to look at something a little different. But there's so many ways to use your words and your body to move your life, to
So
heal.
it's Yeah, so it's bigger than we're going to be ever going to be able to grasp, which is why at the poker table, if it's Texas Hold'em at the big casino in Vegas, take your poker chip stacks, at least 20% of them off the grasping quadrant, and put them in the more trusting, more allowing, more laughter, more shrug. At least allow yourself to be surprised more by the universe. You would be surprised at what happens. And then asking more, or just dropping in to hear more, to feel more. And Tracy, you've given us so many examples of the idea of getting here, experiencing more, loving yourself more first. Talk to us more about either the practical way, daily, we can do that, the little steps, or tell us not a war story, a love story, a coming of age story, building your foundation more, suffering tremendously, being beaten practically into a pulp by life. And then you're like, oh my God, but light bulb goes off. Tell us something more here to give us more flavor, because you're doing a wonderful job sharing so much with us. And we love that laugh.
You always make me smile. Yeah, it's such a big one. I think too that one of the things I like to do, and people don't, you can take it or resonate with it if it resonates, use it. I always, probably about 10 to 15 times a day, I will just say I activate the Christ light within. I activate the Christ light within. I activate the Christ light within. The only reason I do that is I notice that there's an energy that expands. I don't like the word protection, but it allows us to have a cleansing of the space. I also like to grab my energy and pull it down to my center, to my heart. So I will do this exactly before I go to bed. I also do it when I wake up, because you can have messages in your dream. And a lot of times I will say, I'll increase the strength of my body to something. So kind of like, you're increasing the energy field. I'm increasing the energy field to something. So see, I'm moving that up, right? And if I want to remove something, I'm like, oh, thank you, God. I want to release that out of my body. I'm releasing that out of my body. So before I go to bed, a lot of times I'm like, I thank spirit all day long. I really believe we need to thank spirit, because spirit's always doing everything. We're just the conduits. So we always thank spirit. So I'll be in there and I'm like, thank you, spirit, for increasing my dream state tonight. And thank you, spirit, for showing me the truth about A, B, and C. And thank you, spirit, for increasing my field to let go tonight. And I talk like that, but I do this because what happens is your whole middle space, it starts to bring the energy up. It starts to bring that awareness field up, right? Yeah. So you got away. If we don't want something, we let it go. We let it go. And if we don't want something, I'm like, thank you, God, for releasing that out of my body. But see how I'm going through the middle, releasing that and letting that go. Thank you, Spirit, for releasing this out of my body. And we do that. And you can just say, thank you, Spirit, for releasing everything known and unknown I no longer require right now. And when you have these simple tools, I'm known as a tool lady. Like people are like, you give us so many tools. They're like, it's like I have a toolbox, like known as a tool lady. But because I believe that what I like people to understand is I want people to go in the world and take tools that they can use walking down the street, going to their work, walking in, everything. So they're talking to their angels, their guides, they're asking them, they're using the tools, and they're changing environments. They're changing. And if we can have so many people using different tools, we're not given tools in school. Like you're not taught about life. You're not talking about finances. We sure as heck don't learn about relationships. You learn how to put on a condom and that's it. Like we don't learn about relationships, right? We don't learn about being treated well and kindness. And we don't learn anything really in school that's about life. You learn 1 + 1 is 2, that's fine. And that's why a lot of empaths struggle. So that's kind of one of my tools, my little spiel. But I think you had asked me what was one of the most aha moments and growing up moments that really solidified my journey, especially where I am today. Because yeah, there was a lot. And even on my journey, 5 years in, I wanted to give up. I wanted to stop. I was like, that's when all the yucky cells showed up. But I started to see that every day there were different miracles. And there was 2 pivotal moments where spirit showed up. One was when I ended the marriage and my my former husband had walked out the door. So finally I knew that was it, like out the door. I was standing in the foyer, and it was like this whole like million-pound weight went up like this and off. And I really, I was kind of I became a closet spiritual person in the couple years before leaving, because I was learning and going to get help and help how to get out and learning all of this stuff. And the weight, and I was looking around like, what is that? What is happening? And I held on to that moment because I did have a near death after a couple years after that happened. And again, because you get in your rut, you got to keep going, you keep moving. And then about 10 years ago, I was still in the financial world, and but loving this. Like I only wanted to talk about spirit and what was happening. People were like, you're really in the wrong space. I'm like, maybe I can make a difference. But I'm like, nah, that's how I ended up here. I was like, I can't sell my soul. That's like selling my soul over there. I need to get out. It's not me. But when I made that decision, it was so weird. I was coming down the stairs. People were like, you have to go into corporate again. The company I was with, I uncovered a bunch of stuff. It was hundreds of millions of dollars, just like what we're going through now, right? Lying, cheating, stealing. And I was at the top of my stairs, and I'm like, okay, God, do I go back in? I got these kids. They were offering me huge money. Trust me, like hard to say no. Or do I go do this route? And that was my question. At the top of the stairs, I'm coming downstairs and I hear, we got you, jump, go do what you love. It's going to be okay. So I turned down these big jobs. Okay. I'm like, move to a new province, turn down these new jobs. And I walked down the stairs as soon as I solidified it. And all of a sudden there was overwhelming sense of peace like I've never had in my whole life. I'd had peace, but this was different. And again, that weight of things lifted off. And I stood there and I was like, oh my God. And that was it. Because I'll tell you, spirit showed up and showed up and showed up. And I couldn't believe, like I had no social media and people were just at the door, like spirit just led people. And that was a real growing up, another level of trust. And let me tell you, the dark was tempting, because when you're looking at an almost $500,000 a year job, that's a pretty dark. When you're going, I'm going to walk away from that and go start this without even, knowing where it's going to go, but knowing that I loved it, and I'd already worked on a lot of my friends, and I'd seen what we could do. I saw what spirit could do with me. And that's where I really grew into a new level of trusting and understanding what we have.
I love all this. And it brought back a memory of 10, 11, 12 years ago. I used to be in Austin, Texas for 10 years, and there's an amazing place, a barbecue place. You go for lunch or dinner, Stubbs Barbecue. You can buy the barbecue sauce. It's on a lot of store shelves in America, at least.
Yeah.
They have an incredible amphitheater out back, and bands from all over the world. It's part of the whole South by Southwest circuit. It's film, it's tech, and it's also music. But they have, like, if you're going to go to Austin, you're going to catch a concert. That's a really special venue. It's small. It's probably the size of 10 tennis courts, but it can fit maybe a couple thousand people. It's very well organized on a slope. It's got the right energy, 5 outdoor, 6 outdoor bars. There's no lines. I'll show a photo I took because I early on grabbed a camera in a panic. I'm seeing, but it was easier to take a camera to validate it or to feel validated. And angels were kind enough to participate. But somebody asked a question, if everybody at the place had a sure shot and they all took a photo, would everyone get the same shot? I think the answer was 1/3 or 2/3 if you were here and it wasn't raining that night.
Wow.
Yeah, and the pink ball light in the center is Joy, and the purple one off to the right is Claire.
Yep.
But I wanted to mention a kind of random story. This is a really early on, do they call it origin story? And I just written down the Marvel analogy to make a YouTube clip. So I love that you mentioned the superhero thing. You're all wearing uniforms, whether it's a superhero or pick another metaphor. There's some other metaphors too. If you would only look down and appreciate you. The other metaphor that's the opposite is you're always looking at your toes. You can't see what you're wearing, but you're looking at your shoe tips. God knows why. And you're barely paying attention to where you're going, and you never look up. All you have to do is look up or look in a mirror. Okay, so I'm at this concert. I think I was in the mode of, I don't want to talk to anybody because it's turning out every other person's intuitive. I don't know what this stuff is. It's so weird. People are listening to the universe like this and passing messages on to me. And I called it the L thing. They're doing the L thing. And then they're also like, I'm at another South by Southwest concert, and the photographer, the official concert photographer, stops what she's doing, and she's way intuitive. She's accepted it. She's cool. She rolls with it. Doesn't phase her at all. I'm still like, whoa, who are these people? I had a girlfriend a long time ago who was intuitive. I got goosebumps. I didn't doubt it. I just didn't have a way of understanding it. It's like Russian ballet. I've never watched it, don't know it. I wouldn't understand it. Okay. She comes over and she's like, "You're on fire." Da 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 da. I was opening up, and now flash forward to this concert. It's either Two Door Cinema Club or the only band from France that successfully hit the alternative circuit, M83, I think. It's an incredible concert. I think I'm solo because, again, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm like, I just want to disappear into good music. All these humans are catching me off guard. Even a British rocker friend of mine, we're having beers on South Congress, and he goes, I didn't think he was intuitive, so I thought he was safe to have a beer with because I was kind of hiding. I'm having a beer in the middle of the day, and he just goes, "Wait a second, I'm getting a message." And I'm like, "No," because I'm having a beer safely with this guy. And I don't know he's intuitive, but every musician, every artist, you are, whoever's listening, watching. So he puts his beer down and he goes, "It's just, I'm getting a dove. Just peace, be at peace." And that, he might as well have given me a 15-page, mandate of something, because I was ready to run from the table. So I'm at this concert, I'm gigging out. These two women pop up and they start pointing at me. They're like, "I think it's him." And they kind of say hi for a second. Then they're like, "No, keep going." And then they come back 15 minutes later and they're like, "No, it's definitely him." And they showed me how to ground randomly, and then how to get, it was the biggest experience I've ever had of feeling all the love in the universe and sending it out and connecting to all. And I'm sure on my last breath, I'll have a similar experience, because that, I don't know if I can top it. And I think I'm limiting myself by putting it that way. So it's my opportunity for growth. And let's flip every pancake you've got out there. If you're saying my problem is I can't pay the bills, I'm in the middle of a bad relationship, Tracy can give you the list, and Tracy's going to talk about this in a second. There are so many ways to flip the pancake to get better cooking on both sides. So you're going to enjoy your pancakes. It's opportunity for growth. But they came back and they showed me how to first put the energy that doesn't serve into the earth and let earth do its job, and then to flow. And it was the biggest, most expansive feeling that I don't even have the ability of words to get you there. But everything Tracy's been talking about today is bringing up that memory. And all I can say is it's really big, that the more you show gratitude, the way she's talking about appreciation, allowing, let's do some more A's, abundance. But I know abundance and protection aren't like your favorite, but that's a really important point. It's got to be your language. You're good. You want to use this word or say it in another language, do it, own it. It's just own it more, allow more, and then ask more, as Tracy's been saying. And I'm not here to take away from her time. So I want her to give us, she's got like 5 things, and keep going, because you've had us just not mesmerized, not the word. You've had us on our, like this. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're, okay, so just so we'd like to know, so if you're going through something that's not working, and if you're finding yourself in a situation, and I can tell you there's probably nothing that I haven't been through or heard of. So I got it. I'm like, Spirit, I get why you put me through hell and back again, because I can relate to most people, whether from corporate corruption to, being kidnapped and everything in between. Yeah, typically what I say to people is start watching your body. Okay, first watch your body. So if you are, let's do a relationship. I'm going to give you guys an example, because you can do this and translate it to anything. If you're in a relationship and you're not laughing and you're not able to be vulnerable, and that person comes in the door and you're like, and your body's doing like, oh, or you notice your body's closing. Notice that for a minute. Just, you got to notice it. First, you have to acknowledge it. You can't just go, oh, I just feel yucky. And first you got to acknowledge that side of, like you said, the pancake, right? And the next thing you want to do is you want to start to shift your energy. And I always say, you can look and you say, okay, so me to them and them to me, and start asking the questions, and you're commanding your body to release the energy. So you command the body to release the energy as you're asking the question. It's like, is this me? Is that them? Do I need to change something about me? is this over? Like, I know it sounds weird, but ask the questions, because what's going to happen is you're going to start to feel when you ask the question and you start releasing the body. I do this a lot to release the energy out of the body. You're commanding it to go. See, when you do gestures, they move. So then you'll start to be like, okay, do I have fear to go to the next space? Do I have joy? You have to start to look at one, where is that? What's happening here? Then what I want you to do is, once you acknowledge that and you're releasing the energy inside, what starts to happen is you realize very strongly where your truth is. And like you said, there's no right and there's no wrong, guys. And even when you're talking to your body, your energy field, there's never right or wrong. And you use any word that works for you, 100%. What works for you is what you in spirit are doing. You're unique. So as you pull that off, then you want to start to look and you say, okay, what is it that I'm afraid to step into? Truthfully, spirit, what is it I'm afraid to step into? And what you start to notice, and you'll notice when that person comes around. So we'll use a person. It can be a friend, it can be a parent, it can be anybody, right? When that person starts to come around, that you start to feel where your body feels out of sorts, and you feel where your body feels in lack or out of joy or whatever. Now you can look at the other side of that. And this is where then people, what am I afraid of if I take the step to move out of this situation? Usually what happens when we want to bring something in our life, I call it a gap. It's a gap. And when you're moving from here to something better, you start to get anxious. And you get anxious because now your energy is just tuned into something new, but you don't know what it is. And now you're going in your head, not listening to spirit. Well, what if this happens and that happens and this happens, this happens? Well, now you're in a gap. We're in a gap right now in the world, right? We're collapsing and old. We're going to go through the gap and come out the other side to something better. You will always, spirit will always have you something better. But here's the way I say to people to look at it. Tune in. It's like, it's a building. It's a house. The house is coming down. The foundation has to be rebuilt. That's where you're in the gap energy. That's where you can have anxious moments and it is okay. That's where you can have the fears come up because you are taking this brain trying to figure out how to get here versus this brain trusting that it's one, not going to look the way you think, and it will never be on your time, ever. Remember those two things, never your time and not the way you think. If you can let that, and so you can let that go, you're like, okay, thank you, God. I'm going to release the timing and the way I perceive it to be. I'm going to release it and let it go. Strengthen to show me the truth between me and whoever you're talking about and that person and you. Strengthen to show the truth. When you strengthen to show the truth between you and them and you, you will start to get a bunch of information. And then you'll ask your body, truthfully, body, can I continue to do this? Do I feel healthy? You got it. And I say to people to start with the questions before you start moving. Like I do this a lot to move out the energy, and people go, wow. Like I had a lady recently, I'm going to give you this example. She was in a relationship that wasn't serving, but she became super intuitive. She started expanding her gifts and everything. And she went back. I always say to people, go and turn every little rock under so you'll feel good. And she went back and she's like, can we talk? What do you require? What do I require? That gave them the right energy words, because there's words you can do to talk to people to move something. And she kept growing and growing and growing. So the vibration was there, but now she's here, right? They're there. You guys know that little old space. So it wasn't moving anymore. And she became so in her power and so in her intuition. Everything was unfolding. And she just knew. She says, I'm now being held back. So in a loving way, she was able to move forward to allow the doors to open. And now something new came in another part of her life. So a lot of times she goes, I would never have guessed this would have happened. I would never have guessed. I said, because spirit is always full of great surprises. But she did the work to make sure that the gap was easier. And in anything, if you think it's this, even daydream before you go to bed and say, okay, this is a part of the pancake, like you said. Thank you, God. Show me the other side while I sleep. Show me what are all the possibilities. Get into the dream building state, but also bring it in. And the key is always to get in that feeling, as you know, as you're increasing the energy to, I already have that. I already have that. I don't need that because I already have it. I already have that overflow. I already have that connection. I already have that love. And do that before you go to bed. But remember, are you increasing your field or are you decreasing something? You are always in charge. And then, Spirit's going to give you so many signs because you are the master of you and you are the guru of you. We're all here. There's no masters, no guru. You are all of that of you. And your team starts to show you the other side of the coin. And it's okay, guys. I gotta tell you, for me, it took me 5 years. Like, I knew when the day my daughter was born, my second one, I knew I had to leave. But it took me 5 years. It was a process, it's a process. I wasn't as aware. But follow your process and do the work and keep asking and dream. What are the possibilities? What could I do if it was over here? If I had different overflow? But if you want overflow in health and overflow of connection, understand why. If you want overflow of money, start going within and say, why? Why do I want overflow of intuition, connection, health, money? And people say, well, that's easy because then my life is good. Then I can do whatever. No. Go deeper. Because when you realize what your why is for the overflow, a lot of times you'll go, I really want more peace. I want to laugh more. I want to help people in a different way. And we can all do that. When you have overflow, especially in your finances, trust me, good people in this field, we do good things with it. And this is where we're going to. So understand what is your why, and you'll see where it's out of alignment in your body. And as you shift that through, the other side of the coin will start to show. And I will tell you one thing Spirit is brilliant at, and I learned this in my life. I'm sure you have, Michael. If you keep saying, I want out of this marriage, Spirit, I don't like this job. Spirit, I'm done being broke. Spirit, I'm done living in this old world. And you don't do anything and you sit on your butt and you're talking to Spirit, Spirit will shake your butt for you. Spirit will shake your butt for you, and Spirit will put you. And I've seen this where people have said, I want out of my marriage. I want out of my marriage. I don't like my marriage. I don't like my marriage. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, you could see what's happening over there. I want out. Oh, fair. Well, you just said you wanted for the last year, you wanted out of your marriage, but you were afraid to do anything about it, right? So Spirit gave you a gift. So the gift is, guys, you've got to watch what you're saying. You really got to watch your words because Spirit listens to everything you say. Everything. And then we have our lessons, we have our learnings, and don't beat yourself up for your lessons and your learnings. And one other thing I want to caution people, because I see this a lot, don't base where you're going based on where you were. Please don't. When people create and manifest and they start to connect to Spirit for something better, they reference where they were. I could care less. I talk about it because it's just here's where I don't spend any time in yesterday, guys. I spend no time, but I had to learn that because I'm always saying, where do we create? Where do we move? Where do we want to go next? I'm like, that's how I talk to Spirit. Where are we going? What are we doing? What are we aligning? What are we opening to? Having fun, letting it go and learning the words. And that's the biggest thing people get on is, and you said it very well, Michael. As soon as you bring up the yeah, but Spirit goes, oh, okay. I've seen it.
So
and
instead of yeah, but how about or bigger or better? You put out what you think you want to have happen. Step out of your own way on the allowing part. Just let the universe find the how. I've heard that a lot this year and I love it. But also, I've watched two people on this show, great guests, just sit there and have their own version of an addendum, like a legal addendum thrown on to any one of their requests to the universe, angels, guides, their loved ones, Mary, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha. So, hey, I want this to happen or bigger or better, and add your own version of that because you'll be surprised at what you get if you'll just get out of your own way.
Well, I always say that with people when they're like, what about vision boards? And I'm not really a fan unless you write on the bottom and better.
I'm doing that for a Maui home where even down to the fixtures, because I don't know. I mean, I know it's a 5-star sliding door company. There's a lot of names for these 60-foot doors that kaleidoscope in. But, today's manufacturer that's 5-star, there's bigger or better manufacturers. And I want the best, most fun. When you open it up, you feel like you're looking at the ocean.
Yes. Oh, we'll all be neighbors, I'm sure. We're all going to be neighbors on the ocean.
Yeah. So let's do something fun for a second. No spirituality. He's being facetious. You're probably going to be making a move to the water somewhere. Shocker. And you're going to get out of the snow. Shocked.
I'm done with snow. I'm done.
Well, yeah, except now use your moving, just share something with us on some of the directions you think you might go. How are you putting it out there? How are you allowing the universe to get in and reshape things for you for bigger or better?
Yeah, well, I always, when I'm having my conversations and I'm looking at something, like if I'll say, if I have a block or something I haven't looked at, spirit, show me where it is. And you see it pretty quickly and you move it and you shift it. But like you, so I spend a lot of time, I got a very weird brain. You know, on your computer, when you have like your tabs open, mine's like got 50 tabs open all the time. Like I'm always moving from tab to tab to tab. And it's just the way spirit and I work together. So a lot of times when I'm moving in any area of my life, I go into the tab and I literally am having conversations like you just said with the doors, everything. I'm like, okay, this is where I want it. And I leave. Okay, I'll say, this is where I want my house to look like. This is what I want. Obviously, I'm a sun baby. I'm a water baby. I'm a Pisces. You're a Pisces. We're all Pisces. You and I are. So we like the water, right? And the water magnifies our intuitive gifts. You know that. I know it like magnifies. That's why I like being by the water. And I'm by the lake, but it's not the same as an ocean. Lake's more stagnant, but it still helps, right? But this whole space, and I'll start creating, I'm talking to spirit. I'm like, well, it might have like this kind of tub and this kind of shower. So we'll go basic, right? I'm having fun. I'm playing. And I always say, and I'm giving this up to you, God, and better, better, better. And I'm open to receiving. And one thing I always say to spirit, and I say this to people all the time, stay open to everything and judge nothing. Stay open to everything and judge nothing. So while I'm creating, before I go to bed, I always have my creative mode. Sometimes I write it down for sure. And then, but a lot of times I'm just creating. I see it and I'm like, and this and better, better, better. And this and better, better, better. And it's sort of like, even when spirit shows me the world where we're going, people are like, why aren't you anxious? I said, I have the biggest piece of where we're going. And I want to share this image because I want to tell you guys about space, because it came to me last week, and about creation. And I know we're creating because when I create and I'm putting that through, I have peace. I have so much peace in my body. I know spirit and I are on the same page, but I always say, like you, better, 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 guys. Yep. Better, better, better. It's not going to be the way we think. I remember that, but they're telling me, I want to share this image that I had because it was so beautiful and it always makes me emotional. So in 2017, I had this vision that my community and I, we were in the ark, and we're in an ark. So I call it the ark. And one of my beautiful, beautiful souls in our community, she lives in Texas, and we kind of can remote view together. It's really fun. And she's like, Tracy, see this ark? Like we were seeing this ark, right? We were having all this good time. And I always would say, we're in this ark together, guys. We're good. Spirit's got us. We're going to stay in the ark. There's going to be some rough moments, but that's okay. So recently, because of all the changes going on in the world, Spirit showed that we were in the ark, but we're all kind of holding on a little bit, but we're safe. Everything's fine. You know, it's moving, it's shifting. There's a lot of waves going over the ark. And I thought it was really interesting because a lot of people are now using that term. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So, but then what Spirit showed me was, they said, you're going to see very soon. Now, I don't like soon. Soon can be 6 months, soon can be a year, you know that, or 2 years, right? But what they showed is the storm stopped. And you know, when the water on the ocean's like glass, and all of a sudden we came out, and the ark that many of us are in, we're all in a similar ark, right? There's arks all over the world with people like us all in them, leading into the new earth. And all of a sudden you saw like millions of arks all come out together, and they all were together, and the sun was shining down. I get chills. And everybody was cheering. It was like we found the new earth. Like we know we're in it, but everyone's like, we see it, it's here. And they were hugging and screaming, and like a billion people in all their arcs coming together. And I just chills talking about it because it was so beautiful. And then Spirit would say, we're already here, but it was a confirmation where we're going. And it was so beautiful because when I'm creating and I'm dream building, and I'll sing and dance, and I'm like, and then I'm going to have this, and thank you for this, and thank you for that. And I always like, thank you for this and this, and I detail it out like you were saying. And then there's that piece again that comes in, just like when I saw the ark and seeing all of us around the world. And then that's game changer. So the world we've lived in that's been struggle for people or lack or all that, it's changing, right? It's changing. And this is a thing that people forget. the reason for the last 60 some years we've been under this darker parasitical energy is because during this time, we're never going to live there again. We're never going to, they were so afraid of all of us opening our intuition. That's why many of us have had a lot of spiritual attacks. We've had a lot of this interesting stuff. They were so afraid of our gifts, but they can't stuff it anymore. And that's the whole thing, right? Like we're on fire, like the world is on fire with people connecting in their gifts. And when I create, I always remember that no matter how much the dark tried to take me out, spirit always pulled me out. So when I create, I'm always, and I'll go to the details like you said, but I'll be like, and better and better and better. And then I say to spirit, I'm always like, thank you, God. I'm giving this to you because you know better. And then I let it go. I let it go. And I just enjoy the moment where I am. And obviously you want to play more during that time. But see, I can do that now. I never used to be able to. I had to keep practicing and trusting. And then I would see the joy. I would see the shift. And then I would walk into it and go, okay, here it is.
Yeah, you got more comfortable over time in different directions, which allowed you to perform more in the moment. It's not maybe the best way to say it, but everyone's got their own comfort zone. We could be talking terminology, lingo. There are certain words that I watch the spiritual community use that I'm still like, I'm grasping it. I get it. I know what it means. It means to me, universe, angels, guides, and everybody else, and more. And so it doesn't matter which way you do it. It's the Burger King commercials from the 80s, 1980s, have it your way.
Yeah.
The important thing is order something on the damn menu. Get to the
You
Burger King, go
got
to the
it.
drive-through and order. And maybe don't order. Just be like, instinctively be like, hey, listen to your little inner voice and be like, hey, what am I ordering? And you're hearing, Angel X or your guide or your long lost uncle saying, get the triple decker. You don't need triple deckers, but you're like, what the heck? All right, I'm going to go crazy. So it's spin the wheel a little bit. I always say a twister wheel, get the twister set, toss the game, keep the wheel. And instead of the colors meaning, where you're going to put your hand or your foot, write random activities down. Like, I'm going to go for a walk and hug a tree. I'm going to sit under the tree. I'm going to do this, because we're so stuck in routines day in, day out, and we're stuck in thinking day in, day out, that the second you break free, you're in the now, you're in the moment, you're in the intersection of all with a capital A. That's what I use, is the all with a capital A. So if you allow, ask, and receive, you connect to all, you receive all, you get bigger or better. How about that? So talk to us more about, we're all on a journey. It's okay. People are going to react to different stuff in the wherever about the whatever. And it's okay. Just if you can spot those reactions, that's a roadmap or the treasure map to find your own heart, because you're the treasure. Tell us more about, we're going to always have some resistance. It doesn't matter what it is. I see a TV program and I'm like, resistance. It's just, this is what it's about, being human. But the more you can pay attention, the more you can filter, the more you can take advantage of here.
Yeah, because we've been conditioned to have resistance, and that's okay. That is totally okay. And you want to see how much you are, but are you resisting? You want to figure out because of fear, or are you resisting because a lot of people, and I had this too. Hey guys, I had this too. I had a bad pattern where I could like make a lot of money, lose a lot of money. So when I sold my company in 96, I had all the people that were like, must be nice at your age to do that. I worked my butt off. Must be nice. I heard must be nice 100 times. I didn't hear congratulations, well done. Oh my gosh, that's Canada's biggest publicly traded company. Way to go. Never heard any of that. I heard must be nice, must be nice. So I found a creative way to get rid of it, because I felt shame and I felt guilt, and and I felt like all this stuff, and I had to work on this. And so when I say to people, you can have resistance. So I had resistance to keeping and having that because I had the shame and guilt that was over here. But once you start to ask yourself, like, why am I having this resistance to something? Then as soon as you break through and break over it, then all of a sudden things start to move and level out. And you're like, I got it, right? And spirit acknowledges when you actually get that. And sometimes as well, there are things that I thank spirit for a lot for not bringing in my life. I do. And I believe that we forget to thank spirit for that, because we all have a compass that is attached to our blueprint. Our blueprint is guiding us on this life once you wake up. I say it's like snakes and ladders. You know that game, Snakes and Ladders? Yeah, it's a little,
That's the
like,
Australian Canadian way to say it. We say it in America because she's in Canada.
yeah.
And this is TracyLClark.com. Obviously, tons of energy. When you hear her laugh, you're going to die because it's so good. Like, play that over and over again. Her laugh is infectious. It's also very enthusiastic and it's inspiring. And you'll see it a lot out there. But it's called Shoots and Ladders in
Oh,
America. Yeah. And so in Australia and Canada, it's Snakes and Ladders. So
well, did you have a shoot? Because we actually have a snake on the
yeah, we had
board.
a shoot.
You had a
Yeah.
shoot.
Remember,
Wow.
with the whole religious background, snakes are considered and so they're not
Yeah.
part of the earth. They're not the indigenous thing and all that. We
Yeah.
had to have shoots and ladders.
I don't like snakes. I don't like snakes at all. I never have. I'm terrified of snakes. Terrified of snakes. You want to see me scream? Put a garter snake, anything in front of me. I'm terrified of snakes. So that's why. But it was called Snakes and Ladders. But I always say, like, when we're creating, life's kind of like snakes and ladders. Like, you move, you get up a ladder of life, and then you hit the snake or the chute, like you say, and you go boom, you go down. But don't go down and go, oh, I didn't work. Go down and go, okay, what did I learn? What do I need to pick myself up? What am I going? Then you go again. And it's like you go up higher. And then maybe the next little snake's a little one. But every time we break through, you move up and you move up and you move up this beautiful ladder of life. And a lot of times I looked back and there were things I'm like, Spirit, why didn't you bring me that? Why didn't, and I have my temper tantrum with Spirit. Guys, you can have a temper tantrum with Spirit. They'll laugh with you. But trust me, I've had a few where I'm like, yeah, like I was at that point. And then later, and you could hear them laughing, right? And I'm like, quit laughing at me, like, but because they knew. And then later I was like, thank God you didn't bring that in. Thank God that was like a hit and miss. And so then when it was in gratitude, which then also makes you lean into trust, like, what are you asking for and why? And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for not having that happen. Thank you for not, doing that. And, one of the things is how I got here today, because Spirit was like, here you go. And I was asking for what I got, that huge job. And I listened to Spirit and I turned it down. And if I'd gone in that job, I would have gotten really sick again. And I would have not liked it. And I wouldn't get to do what I love every day. I would have been still in the same old yucky cycle when it came to that stuff, right? So we really need to be grateful for things that we ask for, that Spirit goes, nah, you got something better than that, because it's always something better.
So our audience needs to take real note of something. She is a huge inner fearless, peaceful warrior on her path. She is not shy. She'll put it out there. Maybe she figures out later, oh, I should have asked differently, or it's the shoot or the snake. And she's like, no, I got to rejigger this. This is not what I wanted to ask for. I got it. But so if you can sense this or see it, or just you hear it when she's telling her stories or relating her experiences to us, she's not shy for asking. A lot of folks out there are going to need a reminder that it's okay to ask. It's okay to step out of what you think you know. It's always bigger. It's always brighter. It's always more love within and around. And I have to say, I'll throw myself under the bus in a good way. I've always been super, like, I'm a fast teacher, but it could take me 2 years to learn something that you see people on a show or that I help do in 2 seconds. So it took a long time for me to learn it, but it's like if I touch someone's shoulder, they get shoved over the fence if it's in person. But I'm super slow, like manifesting. Not a word that I usually like to use, because I just like to say, put your request out to the universe, let them answer. But I'm finally like, hey, am I a good manifester for the 4,000th time to Angels Geronimo? And the other day he just was like, sweet Jesus, Mike, yes, like lost it, because we all have to hear things 4,000 times. So this is the type of show, listening to Tracy L Clark, TLC, and her experience, her vibe, her vibration, her presence. This is the type of show you can play over again and then play around with her content. She's got a lot of stuff out there on Spotify, Deezer, Apple, Amazon, you name it, all those different things. She's also probably coming up with more, we'll just say show-like material in the future. Plus, she's all over TikTok. I think it was 54,000 audience. My point on this is, give yourself a break. Any part of this that you start to react to and you're like, oh, I've got a homework assignment now, it's like push-ups, it's the New Year's resolution, let it go. Approach it a different way. Just do it while you're walking down the hallway. Have a certain hallway that is like a toll booth, that if it's 5 meters long, it's 2 meters long. that's the moment where you'll try to do a quick thing of gratitude. Oh, thank you for this. Thank you for the dinner tonight. Thank you for my friend. Thank you for the book I'm about to read. And then throw in something like, how can I own it more? It doesn't matter what you own, just own that invisible je ne sais quoi.
Yep.
Own it and watch your own inner fearless, peaceful warrior. If you think what you're looking at is like an Amazonian goddess here who knows how to make it happen, and she does, then you can actually enjoy that flow. Whether you're reading her book, which I didn't actually mention the title. Can you mention the title for us?
Oh, I have 3. And
Oh,
actually,
there we go. Yep.
I'll show you. Yeah.
There's
And
the
so
31 days, and then there's the how do
God,
you do
Where
it?
Are You? It's Me is actually my story.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things. And the reason I called it that, people say, God, where are you? It's me. This is my actually kind of my kid from another mother, those kids that come along with your other kids and they just become your little best other little kids. That was her. We were down at the ocean. But the reason I called it that is because it was really, I remembered all the times where I was like, is there anybody up there? Is there anyone there? And that's why I called it. So I always say to people that it's a way for people to get to know, a little bit of why I am passionate where I am. And a lot of people tell me they relate. And then these are really cool. I'm going to tell you why I like them. And I'm just going to say, because I use them a lot and a lot of people that actually are in energy workers now tell me they use them when they're working with people, because the prayer books were channeled. So they're channeled prayers. These aren't like, thank you, God, for, it's not like that. You can say universe divine, but they're channeled. So, if it's for life, or there's one to strengthen intuition, there's one for addiction, there's one for freedom, there's one for the world, there's one for peace, there's one for animals. And they started, it was so weird because I had no intention on doing these, like none. And I was walking and all these prayers just started coming out, like, what's happening? So I grabbed my phone and I'm talking as I'm walking with my dog, right? And I'm talking into the phone. I'm just letting them go, letting them go. And I sent them off to my friend who helped me with this book, put it together. And she goes, oh my God, you need to turn these into like books. And I said, they just kept coming. So every prayer in there that was channeled, it's exactly how it was channeled. And it's just in there. And so that's how we created them. So, Spirit just channeled through and said, let's go. We need to do this.
Okay, so the book is God, Where Are You? It's Me. And then we're going to have this underneath the video, but also you've got the 31 days of prayer, and you've also got the affirmations one, right?
Yeah. So one's 31 days of prayer and the other one's 31 days of prayer and affirmation. So it's got different prayer channelings, so communication to spirit, and then the little affirmation. So people a lot of times, and it was really cool, like somebody told me they gave one of the books to somebody that was going through a lot of trouble, like they were not being able to get their life on track, didn't know where they were going to get a job. Everywhere she would apply, they would say, no, you're underqualified, you need this, on how a million little things. She read my prayer book, she said, every night for a week. And a week later, she walked she got a job, and she works at a place now where it's all holistic, like energy, scalar, blue rooms, healers, like her dream job. But they loved her for what she had to bring. So she ended up getting her dream job. And she's like, I don't know, this thing worked. Like, what was going on here? So it woke her up as well. Like it woke her up into another of who she was and the power she has. And it wasn't about credentials. It was about, does your energy fit here? Which is where we're going to. And that's why I always laugh about tools, is you can take a line out of there and use it in your world. Like there's so many lines that you can pick up and you're like, oh, I can take that one and use it in my world. Or if you're having a bad day and there was something you need to remove some negative energy, there is a prayer for that. So you can say it, and then you might go to work and you're like, oh, and just, say it and you'll see you can move things. So it's kind of fun. It's tools. Yeah.
I like this. Okay, so those are your books. Who helped you along the way? There's a big spiritual community out there. You can call it self-help. There's even the business self-help book section. And to me, it's all the same. Some of the business community people are even faster, bigger, stronger than the spiritual community, and how quick they can go full stop, listen, and be like, okay, and here are my action points, and they're off to the races. They don't get caught up in self-doubt, worry, am I using the right lingo? And I love those books because there are plenty of folks who would love the structure because they're like, I'm not sure I have my own voice. And they've got to learn through those books that you mentioned,
Yeah.
they're
But they
trusting
can do
the
it their
ownership of their vibe.
Yeah. And I say, take it and then use it your way. Like, I'm
Exactly.
always like this. People are like, did I do the tool right, Tracy? I'm like, no. I said, there's no right or wrong. The thing is, you take it. So if I say, you're going to bring it down, you might go, I'm bringing it out. Like I said, whatever your body wants to. All I'm saying is, here's a starting point if you don't know, and move it. And so I love you said that, because I'm so big on that. I'm like, you have your way and it's right. There's no right or wrong. But we've been taught in school, right? Right or wrong, right or wrong.
Yeah.
No, there's
No,
no
there's no right or wrong, just proper understanding. And if I take a page out of the Tracy L Clark playbook, then
yeah.
it's I'm getting don't hold back, but with that big
Yeah. And I like what you said. I call them the closet spiritual people, because I work with actually a fair group, and I've had some fairly prominent businessmen that I've worked with, and they'll ask me different things around their business and work, and we'll look and they shift and they're doing their and they become like, they really start to understand how their company is a family, and the energy's kind of got to go down, and how they can help, and amazing what happens. But they're always afraid to tell people, right? Because they're like, well, they're going to think I'm kind of weird. And I said, but this is the way of the new world, and it's shifting. And so you're correct. A lot of businesses and a lot of what we do, like, I love playing in my business, aligning, opening, seeing where we go next. Now, spirit shows better for other people than ourselves, right? Because we have to have our own little surprises too. So it's not like, guys, spirit doesn't give us all our own, oh, here's your clear picture. Whereas you can see my clear picture clearer than I could, because it's easy.
That was awesome. And also, hey, I'm the type that always, I'll grab once in a while if I do good service for someone and it's a friend.
Yeah.
I'll throw in one cab fare tip, is what I call it. So forget the ride, the fare's on the house. But in the old days, for 8 years, I gave away service for free. But it would be, what does Mike do for people? And it'd always be 3 figures, 3 Native American chiefs, 3 figures from India, 3 angels, and you'd get multiple answers like flavor. But I would be learning from that.
Yeah.
And so that's something where, again, just checking in with others is not a bad thing. It's what I do, like, over the top. It's, you got to own it, but then there's balance.
Yeah, and there is, because you will know where you're taking I like that you said that, because people don't know. I tracked one time, and like you, I did over 10,000 hours working on people for free, for fun, because I just liked it, but I wanted to sort of know how my skills were moving. So I wasn't doing it, didn't think I was going into this place. I wanted to know how my skills were working, right?
Yep.
So I'm like, well, that kind of worked out. I'd done all these things for free. And then people are like, oh, come on. But I realized it was how I was able to hone those skills. But one of the things you said, I have to say, when I very first started my journey, I started reading things like Wayne Dyer and stuff, because it was a long time ago, right?
Yep.
And it opened, but I was led to, I have to say this, because this is, I like listening to people. I love listening to podcasts. But the person that actually changed my whole life her name was Olga. She's no longer with us today. She worked with me. She saw things that I see now, like, that I didn't see, like, when I was going through it at the time. She would say, and I'd be going that, when you do this journey and you're like, I'm done, I'm not doing it anymore. And I get mad, and that can't be, and I don't want to talk about my ex-husband anymore. And she'd kind of laugh, and she wouldn't hear from me for about a month. And then she'd hear from me. She goes, I knew you'd come back. Like, you're so tenacious. There's this whole new path for you. And she saw books before I did. She's like, you'll probably write 5 or 6 before you're done this lifetime. I'm like, I'm not going to write a book. Are you crazy? Like,
Yeah.
but she was able to see, and we worked together, and I would be dead without her today. I would be dead. And I remember saying that to her, that I would be dead without your guidance, and she was kind, compassionate, and she really took me under her wing, because I learned by doing. I love to read, and there's a lot of great stuff out there, and I love listening to podcasts. I love, like, I'm a podcast kind of nut.
Who's your
But
favorite, like, podcast, if you don't mind? Just one that you're like, oh my God, their voice is the presence. It doesn't even matter what they're saying. Give us a podcast that you're like, oh, I just love them.
I don't even know if I could say there's just one. I
Or
really,
5. It doesn't matter. Just tell us anybody
like,
that, you know,
I'll
they can
say
go.
okay, I go through spurts. So if I'm listening to, what you're saying, like I've listened to your podcast and I'm like, this is really, I love listening to other people's contents. Or, I was listening to Jordan Peters' podcast because I like looking at the other side, right? I like looking from that kind of brain, but still connected, right? So I'll go in there. And I actually, when I was on the Transformation Talk Radio, there was a lot of people that weren't even known, that I actually, there were different podcasts that they were doing that I was like, that's really cool. Like they've really got a new insight on looking at energy or how it's moving. And so I kind of I jump around. Like I won't sit there and go, I gotta just consume, people are like, I just consume Joe Rogan, or I gotta just consume, whatever, some old, I don't like really heady stuff. I think that there's a lot of, I try to say this in a nice way, but I don't like all these languages that people don't understand. To me, I don't want to go there. You'll tune me out in a minute. When I'm listening to people, I want to actually tune into real words that people all understand. Like I think when people start using words that are too out there, it doesn't feel authentic to me. So I'm very careful what I listen to that way, because I believe what you listen in brings new energies towards you. So I'm sensitive to say that because I know people have these big words, but I really believe we don't need things that people don't understand. I really do. I think we need to just talk the normal language. People get guides and angels, and there's different words like you and I use, like manifesting and stuff like that. But I'm fascinated to listen to different points of view. Like I like we became friends. I like Lucas Mack. He came from the religious point of view, but then he moved out into the spiritual point of view. Like I love listening to people who just really have really good real stories, and I think that that's where we really need to be, because we need to be relatable as well. And it's one thing I loved about Olga was she could frame things for me. She was Russian. She had quite an incredible story, and she could frame things for me that I could grasp. Because the problem with me, I guess, if it's a problem or not a problem, is when you start to hone into your intuition, you can get what somebody's putting out in an hour in about 5 minutes. So somebody could say, well, is that a little bit ADHD? Like, no, it's called, you're downloading so much information that you get what it is right away, and you can compute it very fast. And she knew that about me. She's like, you compute so quickly. That's why I say I have the tabs. And she was able to help me understand what my body was doing, why it was doing it, why I was computing the way I was. And really, what was happening into that. I like reading things like the Book of Enoch was kind of interesting for me to read. I did consume, and remember in the early days, a bunch of Doreen Virtue's things before she shifted. Like I was fascinated on the angel side. Like that was way back in the, what was that, or early 2000s, I guess. Like that was a long time ago, like a long time ago. I don't like the real heavy science stuff. I did listen to a ton. Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden. I will go in and out because Dr. Emoto, because I ended up on a film that they were on. I was helping to produce on the back end years ago. And I became fascinated on the science side. But here's something that I'm going to actually say on my own journey. The more intuitive I became, so the more I used my gifts, the less I needed science. And I started to realize that science I needed in the beginning because I was trying to figure my platform out. And people will say, well, show me the science, show me the science. And I said, there's enough out there. Like you can watch enough documentaries, you can watch enough things that show, like, remember, what was it? What the bleep, or we did that show, What If? And they have science, right? Lots of science, but science is a snapshot in time, and people forget this. And we're always, there's this world, this universe, the science is only telling you this much.
Science is playing a lot of catch up lately, though. And I mean, I was still way behind, but it's played catch up a lot in the last 10 years or so.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge. And people do require it, but it's kind of like I say, you know, one day coffee's good for you, the next day coffee's bad for you. One day chocolate's good for you, the next day chocolate's bad to you. It always depends. Like I'm very skeptical. So as I look at the energy and I'm like, who's funding this? Who's telling you this? Where is it coming from? Right. So it's kind of skewed. But when you go to universe and source, you're getting direct answers for you. So when I started to really, and she helped me to really own into what my body, and that's where I became fascinated about the body because I had to repair my own, then everything changed and I didn't want to listen to any more about the science, but I do use it. Like if I've got a CEO who goes, Trace, I need to understand, well, then I'll be like, okay, well, you might want to understand imprinting and you might want to understand, you know, we don't have DNA and genetic coding that's like you think, like it's not, you don't have this because your mother has it, you have it because you imprinted on it and you're the brave soul that came to remove it out of your family. Like people don't talk about that. Like for me, when I showed up with everything my mother had, my grandmother had, my great grandmother had. And when I did learn about imprinting, I was like, wait a minute. So I'm the brave soul that came in to clean it, not, oh, poor me, I'm going to have it. And because even there, my mom had supraventricular tachycardia, so her heart would race. And then if she didn't get to the hospital, she had to have all this surgery. And they all still think I'm crazy, even though later they'll be like, well, you were right about that. But they still think I'm a little out there, and that's fine. But she said, you're going to get it because you have everything that I've ever had. And I'm like, I reject that. I'm not taking that. No, doctor says you're going to get it because you've had my whole, I said, but Mom, I don't have anything you have anymore. You don't have half your organs. I have all my organs and I don't have any of that. So I'm rejecting that. And shortly after she said that, it was kind of showing up like, no, I rejected it. So I went and did all my work around it and never got it. And then she's always like, well, how did you not get that? And how did you not get that? Because it was imprinting. I'm like, because I'm the brave soul that came in to move this out of the family. So food for thought, people. If you think you got something because you got it because it was genetics, no, you got it because you were the brave soul that actually, if you do the work, you will know how to get rid of it. So nobody else in your family needs to carry that.
Yes. And I'm going to go back a couple points because you mentioned business people. Business
Yeah.
people already have the super skill. It's why they're good business people. It could be just that they're good at sales, good at management, good at this. You know, there's 40 buckets, there's 4,000 buckets, and it doesn't matter what industry. There's certain people who know how to size something up and bam, but they're using their Jedi skills. And it's what I was saying earlier about some business people. They're just not using any of the intuitive spiritual lingo. They actually manifest really well and they don't call it that. They just call it doing good business. And they don't even think about it twice. It's the same way though for all of us.
Yeah.
We're in the here and now more often than you realize. You're just doing it unconsciously during the day. It could be flipping a light switch. You're part of your cooking routine where you're not thinking about it. You actually enjoy it, falling asleep at night. And the opportunity before us all, because all these authors, Oprah, Super Soul Sunday, Gary Zukav, you name the person, all the people that you mentioned, they brought us the concept of awareness. And then there may be some science behind it, and there may be this or that. And, you know, the bottom line is you got it all right here.
Yes.
And can you consciously own you're flipping the light switch, except it's an upside down light switch. When you're in your heart, you're on, your light's on. And you're doing it unconsciously. You give yourself zero credit. You've done it your whole life. As a kid, you'd be like, oh, I was constantly on. Climb that tree. I'm going to be an astronaut. I'll be president of, you know, I'll be the head of this company in Canada or in New Zealand. So at some point you got beaten down, life happened, whatever, and you started thinking more and you're stuck up there. And then I'm going to mention what Tracy L Clark, TLC, does. That's her website name, tracylclark.com. You should hear her laugh. Oh my God, it's music. Exactly. And she helps you with those blocks. You've already heard it. She draws you the roadmap or the treasure map to get back to your treasure that's you here. And she's combat effective, certified combat effective, like combat effective. She's done this. She's done it for herself. It's not this, but close. And anyhow, so the concept of awareness has been brought to us. And what's really cool is everyone has the opportunity on their own schedule. It may be 2 lifetimes away. You may be on your last breath. And it's Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. When that samurai, probably the last samurai, probably the dude who's that famous Japanese actor, when he's on his last breath, he looks at the cherry blossoms. For some reason, it's a theme in the movie. He's looking for the perfect cherry blossom. But on the last breath, he goes, and he's looking at cherry blossoms as he dies. And he goes, every single one of them is perfect. Now, I didn't do it right. But the point is, you've got love's a constant. It's in you and around you. And I'm going to stick on the light, happy side, not the negativity at all. But it's a constant. So I'll say it a different way. You can be happy now in this very moment for no reason whatsoever. You might as well just get slapped across the face about your reality, your version of, well, what about so-and-so, my cousin? I'm in debt. I got this problem. I got this illness. You can be happy now for this very moment, in this very moment, for no reason whatsoever. What do you do with that? Forget angels, forget the universe, forget manifestation, any big complicated word, forget, that podcast, this expert, anything. That's your opportunity for growth. And I'm going to hand this over to Tracy L Clark, TLC, with the amazing laugh, to take it from there to remind us how, call it the spark, call it the whatever, call it the whoop, this, we'll just do the motion. How does anyone grasp getting out of here to get to here and go, oh my God, I'm incredible? How do I go, oh my God, I'm incredible?
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you, because I've had to do that, because I didn't think any of that. And literally, you just said it really well. When you have those moments and you have to remind yourself and you come back and you look around, you're like, wow, I am happy. Like I always go with my heart. You guys always see me do that because it's like, I can be happy in this moment. Like driving down the street, you can be happy because here's the thing. I realized that I can make a new choice every second of every day. And when that really sunk in, like you hear people say that, you can choose, you can choose. No, I really had to constantly, like I had to consciously choose. And I was choosing and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I'm a little bit annoyed maybe at this. I'm like, look, wait a minute. I can choose to be happy. What was this teaching me or showing me? Like I go into the play energy of it. But you got to remember, you are always choosing. You're choosing an emotion. You're choosing a thought. You're choosing a feeling. And it's not, choose just the good ones because they're going to become, everything. Like everything we think about doesn't happen, guys. Don't worry about that. Or we live in a really weird world. When people say that, be careful. Everything you think, it doesn't work that way. So get that out of your brain. But go, wait a minute. I can choose to feel something different. And you can also choose to feel that feeling until it goes, and then choose to feel that space, that joy now. And even in the darkest moments, and if I even have a hiccup or something happens, usually by the end of the day, I've looked in, I'm like, okay, I can see this differently. I can choose this differently. I'm choosing this differently. So a lot of times I'll say to myself, thank you, Spirit. I'm choosing something different right now. I'm going to choose to look at this differently. And our choice and our power of choice, because no matter what someone's going through, and I learned this too, I kept choosing the same stupid thing over and over and over again. So it's like that whole definition of insanity. And when I realized, wait a minute, I do get the power of choice. I get to change whether I want to be here, whether I want to be treated like this, whether I want to bring in better things in my life, whether I want to change my life, whatever we want to do, create, I get to choose. And a lot of times that's been taken away from us and we forget as little people. But if you can remember that now and say, wait, stop, and just stop yourself. What am I choosing at this moment? And say, Spirit, I get to choose to be happy. And you'd be surprised how quickly, like, I've been in my car and I've had a moment where, and I was like, no, I'm going to choose to be happy. And I flipped the radio on and there's my favorite 80s song playing. And next thing you know, I'm in the car. Like people must think I'm nuts when I drive because I'm constantly singing in my car, right? Like it's just fun for me. And when you're in a lot of traffic, it's better to sing and choose to be happy and go, okay, well, I guess there's a reason I'm here. And again, and that's the power of choice, which I think is more powerful than the power of now in many ways. And we got to remind ourselves that we are choosing every minute of every second of every day.
Free will.
Hey, yeah, you're right. Because look at how many times, like we said earlier, when people get mad at God, right? Or spirit or universe or divine, whatever you want to call it. But it's like we're given free will. Like the universe gives us free will. So we have to keep making choices. So look at right now, are we going to choose to move into something better? Or do we choose to stay in the old? Like the whole planet is choosing something better right now. Awesome. So we get to have better in the long run.
And invite that help in, angels, guides, etc., your relatives, unconditional love figures, universe, spirit, divine, universe, I think I said. But all you have to do is you don't have to know what you're going to ask for. You can just do the bigger or better thing. Be like, hey, give it a fruit name for a topic. Do whatever you got to do. Be like, hey, all the relationships out there coming that I don't even know about, raise the vibe on it. Find a way to just do a categorical, like, hey, blanket improvement. I don't have to worry about the nitty gritty. Bring it to me. I'm just going to start letting go and trusting even more and asking more. And I don't even need to know what I'm asking for. Just ask more. That was something I think I got last year or beginning of this year, one of those years, about asking more.
Yep.
No, you don't have to, don't make it some big thing that would hold you back from asking. Be like, hey, I don't even know what I'm asking for right now, but let's make it nice. You guys have got this. I trust. Boom. Show me some signs, some humor, and bring something across my path that my jaw drops. And for 3 weeks, I'm looking back, just laughing, laughing, laughing. I'm like, it's one of those life moments where you're like, I can't shake it. It's just too much.
Well, it's also
Okay.
that old saying, right? Ask, you shall receive. Doubt, you go without. And
Oh, I
so,
didn't know that.
yeah, really. So ask,
Wait,
you
say,
shall
yeah.
receive. Doubt, you go without. So ask constantly. And it's even someone says, oh, I'm afraid. I'm like, what? I would say, what's the worst thing? Spirit might say no. Or in anything you ask, what's the worst thing? No? Okay. But if you doubt, you go without and you could have missed a great opportunity. So just ask and keep asking and asking, ask people, ask whatever. You need something, go ask somebody. You might be surprised what comes out. And you talk about this a lot, and I love it. And it's about, all the earth angels on the planet. When you need something, and how many times have you been out and all of a sudden somebody shows up with what you require and you don't even know them? They're the stranger and you're like, ask for that, and oh my gosh, look what I got, right? Because spirit works through people all the time. Ask, you shall receive. Doubt, you go without.
So are you ready for a little bit of sage? This has become like that hot sauce show where they do the 10 or 20 hot sauce bottles. Shaq gets on there. The person gets all the time in the world at the end if they can make it to the end. But hot ones, I think it is. Except we're just doing sage and angels. So I haven't really made it formal yet, but I love that hot ones thing. So maybe down the road, it'll be 15 figures. We go all the way up to Jesus and Buddha. There's no hierarchy, no structures, just different vibes. Bigger and bigger love. Okay, so I'm going to light some sage. Everyone who's done this already, great. You already know about it, but if you don't, this is like that Whole Foods supermarket sage. You can get it at a Whole Foods. Some people start smelling it right away as I light it. It's just pieces of sage, that Native American thing. And some people taste it. Some people, you leave your eyes if you need help on the sage smoke. My only rule or structure, besides pen and paper is nice, is what is it again? Oh yeah, angels. Help me out of my head into my heart. Make this nice. Amen, rock and roll. Thank you. If you're from India, do Om Saram. Okay, here's a feather, red-tailed hawk feather, and she's already getting it. Now, you can just ask to smell sage, but why wouldn't you ask to smell sage and add a extra clause? Make that healing energy on my right arm. It's sore from bowling last night. Tracy, share with us what you're experiencing with the sage.
I can smell it. I can smell it completely. Like if you're moving it, I can feel it coming over. But as soon as you lit it, it was like very strong. And I'll say, I don't have any sage up here at all. And I can smell it so clearly. And I love sage. I have to say, I grew up in a native reserve. So I learned about sage as a child. And so I used it a lot. And then it just sort of moved. So when I smell it, it's obviously good smells. And as soon as you lit it, it just smelled like the cleansing, the clearing, the uplifting. Like it just, you can feel things dissipating as soon as sage comes in. Yeah, it's really lovely.
I'm going to do a first time ever anything like this, but there's Joy, Charlotte, Dullknife, Native American Chief, two angels, pink and blue. Charlotte's the blue. Now, I've never done this way, but it's cool. They're really doing the work, these two angels and Dullknife. I'm going to blow some sage smoke through the microphone. Can you ask for an extra special experience at your end? It may end up smelling like tobacco. It may smell like something, but here it comes.
Yeah. Ooh.
And it should be different and not like that snuff from the 1700s that makes you sneeze.
It's actually really sweet. It's really sweet, like sweeter than sweetgrass. You ever burnt sweetgrass?
Oh, that's one of my favorite. I love sweetgrass.
Right? It's sweeter than sweetgrass. It's so beautiful. And then I just released there. You sort of yawned. They just kind of went, whoa.
Okay. Joy's the first angel. She's the ambassador, communicator. Just think of her as holding the space. And if it's the old school telephones, she brings one of the old school telephones to you. They've got the other. She makes sure the wiring's good, slaps you around, gives you a shot of whiskey. So you're like confident and you're like, oh, I know how to pick up a phone and dial. So this is just listening, feeling, hearing, seeing, whatever. She's already met Joy, but she's doing it for our benefit and for her. So if you want to get a private answer right now, first get a compliment. Ooh, Tracy L Clark goes on the spotlight now. If you could get a compliment from Joy and you can keep it to yourself or you can say it out loud, I think you should say it out loud. But what's Joy say as a compliment to you?
She right away, she says, "You're shining extra bright today." I was like, I wasn't expecting that one. I'm like, okay.
And then if you want, normally this is like Audrey Hepburn's bailiwick, but go ahead and grab a perfume from Paris that's yet to be invented that just knocks your socks off. And since your eyes are shut, why don't you get a kaleidoscope of colors or fashion dresses? The patterns you're like are like a kaleidoscope, but they're just like, oh my God, I want that.
Yeah.
And then a topic, if you would, that you'll talk to us for like 5 minutes. She's got one for you that's just super easy. And you're like, oh yeah, duh.
Wow. It's actually, what just boomed right through is remind them to retap into their inner play and childhood. Be a child. If you work your life like a child, the play, the joy, the fun, the remember as a kid, and you said it, and she right away, she's like, remind people, go back to really being a kid again and play in life and have that joy and that fun and the building of force and the laughter with no judgment. She said, with no judgment, just play and be free. And then all of a sudden I can just see like pink everywhere, like everywhere. Like it's I have an open concept here, like here it goes down where these things are. There's like 2 stories down and you can just, it's like, it chills like lights of just pink. Like you can see them. But that's the thing is we forgot how to be kids and we need to be kids again.
Now, this is super private. If you want to share, you'll share. But otherwise, just look up to your left and see pink butterflies all over your ceiling, and we'll just watch your reaction. But we'll stay out of it. I'm not even looking your way. And catch springtime.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah,
There's
thank you.
There's a lot. Like I'm talking like, yeah, a lot.
I feel bad for the viewer who's got to go back to the like 5 minute mark, only because that's a lot to accept. And I was just going to try to say, look, there's no limits. Consciousness is energy. I think Joseph Campbell said that with Bill Moyer's Empower Myth. You are consciousness. You are light. It's a lot to accept that translates to a bigger job, a shinier, fun path, relations, all these complicated things in life and on earth. So let angels do all that work and coax you through your own opening. But meanwhile, you can have lots of fun along the way and not just don't attribute anything to it. Get out of your own way. Whatever you did well, baseball in 4th grade, trading cards, cooking, reading detective novels, there's no difference in that level of skill, letting go and enjoying a book, than what we're talking about here. So that said, I think you can tell Tracy L Clark, TLC, tracylclark.com, has done a lot of work up in Canada, not there much longer. Ocean for her very soon. Why don't we go to that theme of Charlotte, an angel who's everybody's favorite teacher? If it's 3rd form and it was Mrs. Wilson, and it was your favorite teacher, not the mean one, that's her. She's been around the block. Yeah, and she's been a human before. She helped out in ancient Egypt. Think about angels being constant love. They don't want to interfere. They see your entire path, but they also know, like, if they told you everything, it would take the fun out of it. They also don't want to interfere because you're getting everything the way you're supposed to, either more suffering and pain until you finally pay attention, or and not that that's a good thing and they're supporting that, but just they want you to get sharper about your energy flows. So you start realizing the difference between unconsciousness, consciousness, unlove, and love, and you start choosing better, making better decisions, like Tracy L Clark, TLC, was saying with the fantastic laugh in Canada right now. So with Charlotte, she can go any direction, but you might get something super fun right now.
That's good. Well, we are supposed to activate more of our fun wizardry within. I don't know if that's a word, but wizardry within, like our alchemy within. Our she's like it's time. It's time for you guys to learn and teach how to move. And it's like, yeah, she called it more like, I don't even know that's a word, so I don't understand what it all is, but that, being that wizard within, being that alchemist within, moving that through, I understand that. But yeah, and it's time to play because we're on Earth School, right? We know we're on Earth School. So she's and very much back to the play. It's the more you play with that within, the more it starts to hit the world in a good, fun way. Earth School doesn't have to be hard.
No. And I would say love is the fabric of the universe. If you want to hear your host go out on thin ice and take a chance, I'm saying something really controversial. It's a constant. But you are already that NFL star quarterback or if it's rugby or whatever, cricket. You're already that amazing person. When you're in your heart, you are already multidimensional channeling or you're transdimensional channeling for a multidimensional experience. Just reading that book. This is going to sound like a lot, but it's called letting go. And it's just being, to be or not to be. Shakespeare had it. Einstein had it. Gandhi had it. You've got it. You just have to pay attention. And then, maybe it's the books, maybe it's the movies, Peaceful Warrior, Dan Millman, maybe it's Tracy L Clark, and she's got those amazing books and everything else. Let's do some Native American chiefs. We're going to jump around on you a little, take it any which way you want, but I'm going to give you Dullknife. He's wisdom with some humor, like a mountain range. Super cool. These guys are like long lost uncles. Great for getting from point A to B in life. And you might as well smell one of those 40 Native American smells. It doesn't have to be sage, sweetgrass, desert pinon, juniper.
Smells like that leather, that like a real Native American moccasin smell. That's what it smells like right away. Yeah.
And words of wisdom for us all, because he always gives, breathe more, think less. I mean, I've gotten all of these from my lessons 10 years ago and, last week.
Over and over, it's activate your inner warrior. Activate your inner warrior. Everybody, it's time. And it was interesting because as soon as you brought him up, you could feel it's like those, the big heavy bearskin rugs, like just right over my shoulders. And then it just made me gonna go like, whoa, inside like this, right? But we have to activate the inner warrior. And we all have it at different levels, but looking at that message, we're all going to a new level.
I love it. I love it. I've got another angel for you and another angel after that. The second angel, you're going to have fun for your relocation stuff. An angel named Carol. I've got a blow up of her. Hold on. So here's an angel who's light waves of energy in water. So think ocean. Anybody out there who's already drank the Kool-Aid right now and you're totally like, what's next? How high can I jump? Go ahead and ask for your favorite ocean to come to you wherever you are. It doesn't matter if it's the Canary Islands, Caribbean, Pacific, but that's Min, M-I-N-N, like Minnesota, Lakota Sioux word for water. And if Miss TLC could, if you want to get a vision about the future house on the water or something about it, let's go with that theme because you've got skin in the game, do they say? You've got an interest in that. So catch that ocean smell that you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to move there.
I can smell the house and I can see the house and I can see the palm trees and it is right on the water, but I can see the exact architectural design of the place.
Cool. Close your eyes and hear the waves lapping. And the whole point of the exercise of getting there, because there's a certain peace and intercom tranquility that comes with it. I'm going to blow through the microphone, no smoke this time. And I'm just going to, it's not me. It's also the highest unconditional love intent, nothing else. My thinking can stay here. But it's going to be Min and all the angels kicking in. I'm going to blow and you'll feel some sea spray or whatever it is on your nose. Wow. And if you want to get a mantra on the whole concept of really dreaming big, bringing it forward, but letting the universe do its job, it's here to bring you your heart.
Yeah, I keep hearing it's here now. It's here now. It's here now. It's like just over and over. But they shared a few other things in there, but I'm going to keep that one to myself.
Always a good idea because this is exactly, and this is personal. And that's the whole point. You have to have you're going to feel it personally. Why not start feeling it personally where it's put your name incorporated and now you're CEO. You have to make your business decisions. You can't shy away from some of it and take a vacation. CEOs take big vacations. Do it. Yeah. And if you're like, well, how do I pay for the vacation? Well, that's why you're going to ask these questions and get your answers. Okay. You just have to do basic listening. Red shirt, gentlest mom in the world wearing a U.S. presidential medal. Oh my God. Can people feel him? If anyone's going through any situation, divorce, health, anything, they always gravitate to him. Tracy, take it from here.
Okay, this is crazy, you guys. It's literally This is the image. As soon as you put him up, it was like on a white horse, like go. And to me, horses mean like don't look back, like go, you're free, spirit, free, like go. And so when I look at that right away and I hear it, it's like we are all free. So stop. Like he's so clear. Like it's just we are all free. So you got to remember we are free. We are choosing. But that horse, like us, like on the horse, like in the white horse is like, now, guys, I don't know how to ride horses, so I'm just going to tell you, I'm good. I can go
But
on a
you
trail
do,
ride.
you do. You
So
ride
I
your
know how
horse.
in the spirit, I know how to ride the horse, and we're just going, and he's like just free. Like the power in that is huge. He is definitely, you guys got to remember, we're all free. We're free, but that horse is going like as fast as the wind, as fast as the wind.
Now, Geronimo's next. And what's ironic is Geronimo gave somebody in the last month or two one of the best metaphors, suggestions ever. Get on your horse, grab the mane, ride, 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 straight forward, ride, ride, ride. Don't look left, don't look right, don't look back. Now, yours
Great.
truly is slow on the uptake. So I think it must have been months ago, because then recently I'm like, oh, I'm in the shower. It's dog walk, like you were saying. Those are the two creative times. You better have a piece of notebook, reporter's notebook or the recording thing she does, because that's when it goes this way, or a dry erase board hanging just outside your shower, the eureka moment. You're getting the formula for your next lemonade design, and you can write the formula down. 3 lemons, not 2. Okay, Geronimo gave that, and I realized the horse is the heart. It's you. It's that thing you said about the authentic power in the heart, and it's the thing that Charlotte said about the the magic here. That's a popular word these days, but the unlimited everything.
Yeah, through that hard drive, there's so much power.
And then Geronimo will steal the show. He's not formal, yes, no, proper like the other two. He's like, yeah, nah, just do it. Nike bumper sticker, action, dry wit, lightning bolt.
Yeah, he's also right away. He's use your tools. You know how to use them. He's fine tuning them, which is cool because he's fine tuning our tools. Use them.
And then older Geronimo. Oh, his eyes in this photo. I say he's a tiger, like up there. He's action. That's actually a tiger from India who's you can talk to, you can feel.
Yeah,
Here he's more of a kitten, but he's still super powerful. He's all about your authentic power.
wow. Yeah. That is awaken your inner wisdom. And you can tell when he says that, it's not that you haven't awoke, but it's like really like take out your inner wisdom and just push it to the world.
Use it, which is, I think, one of the top 4 messages Tracy L Clark, TracyLClark.com in Canada has been telling us one way or the other. You've got it. Now use it. And if you still are so doubting, or you don't want to look in the mirror and you don't want to do the work, you're looking at her. Now we need the snarky laugh.
Well, I have to say something, about my name, I always laugh because out of all the initials, right? And when I was a little kid, even when I go through, people are like, your initials are TLC. And I turn around as a little kid, I say, yes, I'm tender, loving care. And then now people are like, you're like the Learning Channel. And I started to laugh. And I said to my parents, I said, thank you for giving me really good initials and name, because they just liked it, but they didn't realize, well, obviously somebody was talking to them. They didn't realize because they named my sister after a Kleenex box. And that's been more difficult in our life. So, our names have some power, but I never realized that it would, really serve me. And so, yeah, the Learning Channel or Tender Loving Care. So I kind of laugh, but I'm like, hey, I lucked out.
I hadn't heard the Learning Channel before. I like that, though, because technically, we're all learning, but this is a real opportunity right this moment. And now here's an angel who is knowledge, learning. Ironically, her name's Carol. I always undersell her and Fiona. There's like little gaggles, there's little cohorts. I don't have the cabals, but these are all the wrong words for angels kind of hanging out in groupings. But I'll give one example. Joy, harmony, faith, hope, grace. They all have their little roles, big roles. And you're getting the idea. But there's a Presley. She's the interconnectedness of all. My kitten cat is named after her. Wrote in on Elvis Presley movies. She's like, it doesn't matter how you spell it. I don't watch Elvis Presley, but they're for a whole 3 weeks, like Elvis Presley, Elvis Presley, Elvis Presley. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting a clue. Oh, Presley. I got it. Okay. So they love to do fanfare. If you actually are into meeting these guides, your relatives, whoever, let them show you the signs, the signals, and tell you how. It's what she said about the radio or the song on Sirius XM coming up. That was the right time, right place with the headline. Yeah. So Carol and Fiona have always done it poorly the last 10 years. I call them librarians. They're not. Their knowledge, they do the Akashic Records. You can get a walk through the Akashic Records and get shown what you need to get shown. Now, she's also real estate. And I have to say this for Tracy because it's in the cards. It's coming. She just saw the home. You can get just privately get like 3 things to make this the simplest real estate transaction, whether it's selling or buying or timing. And here's Carol. And everything knowledge. So also get some big picture stuff as well.
Wow.
And what's her reminder for all of us to put our dreams out there and let the universe kind of take it and run in a good way?
Yeah. Faith, not fear. Faith, not fear. Go for it.
Okay. Here's Audrey Hepburn for you. You can let this photo move, wink, smile. She's half in the grace category, but she's also sparkling in the moment. And there's already a grace who's rainbow light. So here's Audrey. And if you would, just get something beautiful, catch something in the air too. Elegant.
Good. She says, she does have a message for everyone, but I am going to say something. She's been in my field for many, many, many years, like many years. And it's always very powerful and beautiful. Like I do have pictures of it. I'll look in, and it's interesting because even look in one of her messages, even to remind everyone how beautiful we all are inside. We're so beautiful inside. And I've had many messages from her. It's funny, I even get like some dreams and stuff. Like there's an interesting elegance she brings when you work with her. I just want to confirm that for you because I've noticed it in my life. And I've noticed one thing she's helped me with, and people have caught this. They're like, you can work with the homeless person on the street and the CEO and the queens or kings or anybody in between. But I also know that as that aligned, I was always very drawn to her energy. And it was always a help of that extra compassion and humility. And so, yeah, I have an extra affinity for her.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm getting this thing. So I'm going to put it without saying it and we'll get to it. It's a next step where you'll look off to your left, but just hear from Audrey, and I switch photos, even though it's going to look the same, and Joy. Yeah. Hear from them that you've got this and it's okay. And just give us a thumbs up verbally that you heard, yeah, do it.
Yeah. No.
Okay. So look left and you can see Audrey in your living room, that alcove, whatever it is, the hallway up there, the thing, the room. But look and take it in. And then just, if I don't know if the word blessing, some people like it, don't, catch the greatest positive vibes for your tall ship sales, for momentum for the weeks ahead. Yeah, you deserve it. Some people get teary-eyed or yawn or whatever, but first of all, celebration.
Feel like this, we're blowing you in a new direction. That's what I keep hearing. We're blowing you in a new direction. And which is really it's so cool because you can feel it, but they're confirming. Like right there, it was a confirmation. Like as soon as they said it, it was like like we're blowing you in a new way, in a new direction. So now, guys, I'll tell you, when I hear stuff like that from Spirit, I'm like, oh, I get excited, but I'm like, oh, where are we going? It's like we're on the ship just turned. Yeah.
So why don't you do one more thing, and forgive me for suggesting anything, but this is easy. Okay. Shut your eyes, put your left hand out into the open space of the place, and have Audrey embrace your hand. Maybe it's one slipping in, elegant female hand, or one over top the hand as she's embracing you with the other hand. You'll feel double or single. And again, if you could just accept all the love in the world, saying, you do beautiful. You just do beautiful. We're making up English.
It's okay. It's great. Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, I think we just got another one of your future affirmation book number 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 11.
Yeah. Wow. Powerful.
Yay. Okay. Heather does hearts and she's compassion. She's easy. She has a gajillion hearts. They're on my website somewhere. You'll find it if you need to see more. But think of her as Amazonian goddess if you have to, Wonder Woman, but also Africa, like part of the earth, the true compassion from the land, from Mother Earth. She's been around. I've seen her in like Stockholm, New York. I surfed with her in Maui. She was a Portuguese ballerina taking time off from life. So if someone's wondering about all this, but you've bought in, drank the Kool-Aid, ask for angels to show up as physical human beings on your path. You might not talk to them. They might just wink or open the door for you. But if you're gutsy, be like, no, I want some words too. And finally, if you win the lotto, be like, hey, you're sharp enough to not get, I get fried and I lose my English and I barely can function except for where I'm supposed to. And then ask for them for a cup of coffee. We're getting to a point where this is going to be so accessible. Why wouldn't you want to go sit down for 5 minutes for a cup of tea? They'll tell you when they got to go. Yeah, that's bold. By the way, don't do it. It's crazy what I just suggested. But if you're that 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000, you've got this. Okay, back to Heather. What does she say about our hearts? No limits.
She says, take the chains off.
Nice. Okay, Archangel Michael, I'm hearing like the symphony go boom. Here's Archangel Michael.
Love, yes.
And like for the first time in looking at this photo for 25 times in the last however many days, I'm seeing all the lines in it.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I've never seen those before. And I've only had this photo for like 10 years. I'm such an idiot. Okay. I'm just seeing sliced diagonal lines, ripples. Yeah. Okay. Well, there must be a reason for that. And you're a fantastic listener. So TracyLClark.com.
Well, everybody, if you really want to know, take out your sword. And that's why you got the sign. It's like, you got to keep slicing through. He's very clear. You got to keep slicing through. So even, and it's funny because he still has some things to say that even if you feel that it's hard, remember he's in there, but keep slicing through. You're going to, and because if you keep, that's why you're seeing the lines. If you keep slicing through, right? If you slice through something, you can push it all open and see what's on the other side. So don't be afraid to use what you have and keep slicing through.
And Joseph Campbell in The Power of Myth with Bill Moyers keeps coming back to that in all the different mythology, religions. He keeps bringing that point up. And you mentioned it because it touches into Christ consciousness, which there are other ways of saying that. I'm not great on this, though. Universal love?
You could say that, like universal love. You can, and again, I would say whatever works for. Yeah.
But it's this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Don't ask me anything. And I only repeat anything that sounded good today. Remember, it's angels or guides. And I heard it so many times that I was able to then say it and pass it along. Okay. 4 archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel are in there. And go any which direction, but you might as well ask for it all, Tracy. And that means something in the room in terms of smell. But if you also want to catch a little bit of light, like ticker tape parade, glitter around you, ticker tape, the pieces of paper, or just beautiful words, or singing of all the angels or all the above. I'd choose E or D and take all of the above.
You can hear the sound. And guys, I have to say, I've heard the same sound. It doesn't come in too often, but I heard it in one of my near-death experiences. Actually, I said you can't recreate it in Earth. And right away it came in. I only get to hear it once in a while. So thank you. And nothing I've been able to create. I've looked in so much music to try to find that beautiful sound. And before it came in, and it always makes me just feel so much at peace all the time. And I get it very rare. Like it comes in, but not all the time, guys. But before it came in, it was literally like gold dust, like gold dust just coming through. And then I could hear it. And that sound to me is always, whether you want to call it universe, heavenly realm, out there, I don't care what you want to call it, but that means we've hit one of the highest vibrational frequencies of love, compassion, where we're going. That sound is, I wish I could find something to give to people.
So following up on that exact last few requests from her and her not quite realizing it for one more second, We're going to have her ask, with her permission, and I'm trying to be as gentle as possible so it doesn't sound pushy. Joy and Gabriel can just connect with her and let her hear that much more frequently you can tap into that. It's no longer the white whale and your Ahab is, did I get it right, for Moby Dick? It
Yeah.
is so much more like the weekly sitcom. You just turn it on Tuesdays and you get it. Okay, so here's Gabriel and Joy, and here's something private to you. Don't have to say it out loud, but just maybe it's an act of like making a nice cup of mint tea, and you can then share in that sound again whenever you wish, but get your private details and just say got it when you got it.
I got it.
Okay, so now we just did a really good service. Yay. Okay. Another photo for you is Mac. Don't call her Mackenzie. Not if you want to like curry favor. Kidding. But she's plants, animals, nature. She's one of your surf guides. If you go surfing in Hawaii, you just know how to surf. Yeah, you don't have to know how to swim, go surfing. You just, angels can make it nice. And that's with your eyes closed. It's a long story. Here's Mac, and I should turn it a little bit, but go ahead and ask her anything you want. It could be about where your next vacation is, going for the walk, the pooch.
That's funny. She said, buckle up. And I was like, oh, what? Here we go. And it's just like, you can feel and see the energy go like this. I'm like, okay, that means we're moving. That means airplane travel.
Okay, then you get the special. You're going to get, I've never done this on a show, and I have to cheat because there's 170 figures, but it's more like 500. And I just literally, I have to have a notebook.
That's okay.
Of course, the first time ever I put my special healing thing that used to hold my iPad, but it holds all the names. Like I literally, I don't remember much, but what I did was starting writing down all the names of angels and figures. But I have to cheat because there's 3 or 4. There's Charlie, like Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
There's Cecile or Cece, just call her Cece.
Yeah.
And then finally there's Cherie. And okay. Cherie is a cherry color, sweetness and light. Cece is purple and abundance. And Charlie is the ringleader. And I'm just telling you now, between her and a Penelope, do not go shopping with them unless you're carrying cash. No credit cards. You will find the coolest stuff, and you'll get way more than you ever expected that'll bust your budget. So Charlie has got an eye for design and perfume. She's excitement. And first things first, let's meet Charlie. So if you can just do something with your hands, like finger painting, we're in kindergarten and we're the kindergartners, do something to reset. The audience can do this. If they want to do the hokey pokey, get up, do the chubby checker or the Elvis Presley. If you do this in a supermarket, I guarantee you're going to clear out. I don't guarantee much. Everything's supposed to be your own effort. But trust me, when all the people by the avocados burst out laughing because you're doing this for no reason whatsoever, you're going to laugh, they're going to laugh, and you made their day. Okay. Yeah, forget angels. Just do the chubby checker. Okay, so here's Charlie. But if you could, let's have you juggle 5 balls at once. It'll be perfume yet to be invented. This is usually what Audrey does. Perfume yet to be invented from Paris. You'll put your hand out, but you'll feel it down the back at the same time. If you can keep the Calgon Take Me Away personal to you, get something really cool about the waltz you're about to go on with life. Here's Charlie. And if you could get a fashion idea for colors and design that's coming your way that you're just going to feel like $1 million when either if it's jewelry, if it's clothing, or it's something else. It could be something else.
Yep.
And all your senses, I guess, is what I was trying to say, are getting engaged. And if you could get one thing to share about how the universe is always bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger than we'll ever allow. So stop putting limits on it and get with the waltz. Something to that effect. Can you, what does she have for us?
It's interesting because it's like, take that energy. She's like showing that energy of just, I know it's expansion is what it is, but it looks like explosion because, and not in a bad way, you know, like you're bursting. It's this huge explosion energy that when it pulls everything down, and there's just such beauty on the other side. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, for Cece, purple in abundance, if you'll just close your eyes, she'll come on and be the most beautiful purple. There's a lot of purples like Metatron, and there's Claire. She might be more blue. I'll do Claire next after this. But you've got Cece, who's abundance, and just you've got something coming from her that's going to be great for all of us.
It's actually quite interesting because what she shows again, it's like another, she's showing like an elevation, like our heart drive, as I would call it, our hearts are changing and expanding, which the way she shows it and like it's pushing out, but it's going to bring, and the way they keep saying is great healing to the lands.
I love it. Okay, now last but not least, did I say it right? Cherie, but just she's like sweetness and light. If you could catch the most amazing cherries or cherry pie in the air, whatever version of, there's a lot of versions of cherries, but if you could catch something in the air that's sweet, but she's sweetness and light. Here you could put a hand out and leave your eyes open, and if you want, you'll get light around you. That's just that vibe. I don't know how else to say it, but you're gonna get it right away. This is like so your
Oh yeah, right away.
Yeah.
You can smell it. It almost smells like chocolate, like, you know, when you're in a chocolate shop, like that very, yeah, you guys know what I mean if you've ever been in a real chocolate shop. Yeah.
Cool. And if you want, make an RSVP with some of these folks, a cup of tea. But if you like, here's another one of those homework assignments that's impossible right now, but wait a year or 2 or 3, whatever you need. You can ask angels to come over. They'll just show up, knock on your back door, have them at your kitchen counter and have a cup of tea with them. That takes blank balls or a lot of courage, or you've got no limits. You're living it. But I'm still saying it's not out of the realm of possibility. And that's you privately. No one will ever believe you, or they think you just had a bunch of strangers over, but it doesn't matter. You just live your life and do your thing. Don't tell us about it. Don't put it in the comment section. Okay. Here's Claire, and absolutely wunderbar. She was in the concert photo that you saw off to the right of Joy.
She's beautiful.
Yeah. And she's resilience. You could say clarity too, but she's resilience. And this one has special meaning and extra everything because it's the get up again, get back up on your feet, dust yourself off.
He's repeating that old saying, like I say, you know, you're on the brink of a miracle. You're on the brink of the miracle. Like just keep, you know, like you were saying, just keep going. But she keeps saying that. But the energy is so beautiful, but extra vibrant, and it's all encompassing. And sometimes when I see that, I have a hard time. I say that to people, like, I wish I could show you, because I have a hard time fully explaining what it is. But if you could take whatever the most vibrant colors that you could see, but it's like, you're there. And it's got this overwhelming feeling that many of us are going to see like mind-blowing new things that we may have thought about for a long time, but it looks like they're time to show up now. Like,
before I do another like Harmony or Penelope, Harmony's Harmony, that's an easy one. Rainbow light in her photo. Yeah. What's a quick reminder on how simple it all is? It's not about any concept or any book or any specific set of words, how it's here, but what do you have for us as the, oh yeah, I should have said this at the outset and reminded everyone every 10 minutes because it's this much in front of us or here. How do you say it, Tracy?
Feel.
Feel.
You have to feel it. Feel it is true. Feel it there. Feel. Stop thinking. Start feeling.
I got to share one. Someone was doing sage at my household 2 houses ago, very beginning. I'm like, I don't know how to sage. I couldn't own, and blowing smoke, or you can just ask angels to clear your place. But I didn't own it. And I was still like, oh, I don't know. But they were closing off the property with sage smoke, and they had like a teenager come over and put their hand up before. Then they closed it. It was like a Julia Childs with the sage, using the whole thing. Like that whole thing, what's it called? A bundle. I use like in a whole year. This guy was like Julia Childs with a whisk and just torching and tons of smoke, and he didn't even think twice. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to burn the whole community down. And, I'm thinking. And then I watch a little kid come up and who's wonderful, who's totally sensitive and now an adult, put their hand up and they go, oh, okay, there's the before. And then, oh, there's the after, like eating sushi. You see the recognition of a kid that when they like sushi, they go, oh, yeah, yum. Yeah, that was good. Cool. And I'm like, I don't know if I can feel anything with my hand. I'm literally doing over a candle for like 2 weeks so I could trust that my palm could actually feel something. So you can be that dense, and you are that dense on something. And if you can just let go of where you're putting your limits, it's only you up here that is putting the limits. You've got it here. Now that's where, back to blockages. Who is our special expert, our guru, our extraordinary, I wanted to say extraordinaire. A lot of French coming in. Okay, you help people release the blocks, get flowing, and get moving again. Back to harmony, which is where we're headed with this. Can we have harmony compliment you on what you do for folks? And do you mind? This is gonna suck if someone's come this far, which they haven't, and they're resisting it all, and they're like, I don't know about Tracy. I wouldn't hire her for the, and that's not true. Get a compliment that is completely self-serving, because that's okay. It's okay to do a little love here, and have harmony give you a beautiful on your career and what you do for folks. What did she say?
So the way you empower people is very different.
Good stuff.
It's simple, guys, but it is, because here's the thing. If you can move the blocks, and she's right, and you can walk away empowered, feeling empowered, you're going to own who you are, and you'll see the truth of who you are. And the more you keep being lifted up and feeling that empowerment and knowing you're not alone, you'll have the strength to do whatever you need to do for you. You'll get through anything.
Nice. Figure from India, Sai Baba, the one from 110 years ago. This is another one of those photos you can have a wink, a smile, a nod. He's compassion intersecting, stillness, peace, also Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam. But just think Mr. Miracles, and he's tight with angels. That's all you need to know.
Beautiful.
Okay, how about we do one more, but your choice. Do you want Mother Teresa, Einstein, Gandhi, Vishnu, Krishna, Ganesh, Saint Francis, Rama, Marcus Aurelius, an angel? Do you want Mary? Big Mary?
Big Mary.
Okay, so I'm going to do what I've done on a few other shows and mention her just the way I've learned her, which is big, compassion, rainbow light. And when the chiefs who were on earlier describe her, they say she's love, she's everything we need to love. If we all had her faith and trust, this is like the rare thing I ever remember. If we all had her faith and trust, there would be no more need for fear or worry. And I'm like, wow.
Amen.
Okay.
Truth.
Yeah, and I found this photo that I forgot to use till about a year ago. And if people could allow for a little bit of rainbow light glitter here, for those who are, again, here she is. Let her eyes come alive. Get whooshed. I don't know what that means, but you're going to get whooshed. It's her and angels. Let there be a private joke, but then if you could get something public for us all.
Oh, that's emotional. That's we're to all of us. So she had something else to say, but I'm going to keep that one to me. But she said for everyone to remember, open your hearts to trust in each other again, like you've never trusted before.
Yay. And just a reminder too about everyone's path. It's along the same vein, but there's one more little thing. Everyone is on a path, and then there's the rest of it. Do you have anything on the rest of everyone's on a beautiful path, and I'm hearing more, but I'm going to see if Tracy wants to take over from there. Mary's got one last little thing about the rest of the path. Everyone's on a unique life path.
Yeah, it's very clear. She's like, for me, what I pick up is that she's actually saying you're on your own unique path, but you also have to own your path. You have to own where you're going. You have to own it, trust it, and own it where you're going.
Yay. Okay. Tell us about the future. Tell us, this is going to be a hard transition. Tell us about the future. Are you still pondering a book or two there? Is there another project? You might have whispered show somehow. Is there something you can share now that you're like, hey, yeah, fall, a year from now, this summer, what are you playing around with?
Very shortly, we're launching an app. So that will be out. We're just waiting for the final approvals. We've been working on it since last fall. So launching an app. I have another book. I have some shows I want to start putting on YouTube with guests and get back into that because I took a hiatus. I have been writing a little bit on a book, but I want to actually do more of the guest stuff, get the app out, and then I'm going to see where spirit goes. I've been playing a lot in the energy, and this last year was huge transitions for me too. We've been blessed to, kind of get out of our houses again. But I know, and also we had a lot of retreats on before we all got shut down. So I'm going to be looking at starting those again because people have been asking, but they will all be at a beach, just FYI.
What countries are you going to probably be doing your retreats in? Because probably not Canada with the whole Nova Scotia or Vancouver. Yeah, thank you. I love the reaction because I didn't want to be rude to Canada because we love Canada.
Yeah, no, you know
But
what?
there's a
We
lot of beaches on this
2
earth.
months in the summer where you're lucky if you can get out some. No, 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 no. We had, but we had some before that we're looking at, like in Hawaii and Costa Rica, and down there's an opportunity in the Bahamas, and so there's different places that have come up. I would like to there's a possibility that we could go even over into Greece and stuff like that. Like there's all these different things that have popped up that were in the works before we got shut down. So now I needed to take a little bit of time over this winter with a lot of things that were going on just in family and stuff. And but I've really put that creative space back on, and how do I want it to look, and who do I, want to enjoy it with, and where do we want to go? And because I really believe that to be in that space, in that union space for 5 days or 7 days, that it's just, there's so much love and so much play. And like I said, in the oceans, really miraculous things happen when I go in the ocean. Yeah.
Yay.
So,
Okay. Here's Kapuna Auntie Margaret on the Hawaii front. You've already got an idea of maybe which island or which location, but go ahead and have a Hawaiian local. She's love on a Hawaiian breeze. Kapuna Auntie Margaret.
we will ask her to open some doors. Yes, she will open some other doors.
And does she have a favorite island? Is it the same as your favorite island? Is it Oahu? Is it Big Island? Is it Maui? Is it Kauai? Or 2 or 3?
There's a couple, but I think I'm going to leave that under my hat.
Yes,
and I'm
leave it under your
looking at
hat.
her hat, and she said, "Leave it under the hat."
And I love it because that's actually the best way to do the manifesting and so on.
There's some things going on there that she just showed that I always say sharing can be caring, and sharing is sometimes meant for later. Yeah.
Yeah, and a beautiful balance being shown today. Thank you for all of that. Okay, so that is a lot, and we are talking though outside of Canada. For where you might be living, is there a country you can share at least? How about 4 to throw us off? Give us the top 4 countries. I don't think that we're getting specific. There's a lot of oceans with all these countries, but where could you end up country-wise?
I think I'm going to leave that a little quiet.
Oh, nice job. Good job.
Because there was something that they showed me. Yeah, that I don't.
So just say something positive about the ocean and how much you're looking forward to.
Love the ocean, love
new
the
adventures.
Love the freedom. And guys, you should all embrace that too, because it's so much power and energy drawn from the ocean. And the place is bigger for all of us in the end. That's all I want to say, is it's going to be a place for not only me to live, but many people to enjoy.
Good. And fantastic. You did great on that. Appreciate it. And I'm going to put one more thing up as a concept, just a small little next exercise. Highest intent, only compassion and love. Any of our thinking, any of our anything is run by angels, and they're running interference. So only love vibration comes through. But if you could get a yes, not the worst idea for the next exercise. We're just going to put our palms up, Tracy. You'll feel my vibe on my left hand, only my highest energy. That's my right hand, but my left hand in a second. But I'm going to pull away at some point. We're going to give the audience a chance to feel your vibe and get inspired enough that for those it's appropriate, the angel crew will know to somehow find either your products, your stuff, your videos on TikTok, Instagram. I got to mention this soon, even more on YouTube down the road, her shows. When you catch her zest, it's contagious. Okay, so here's my, sorry, I'm going to do this first too.
I love that. I know, it's like open.
Yeah, open, and I'm doing circles because, 5 years ago when we were all 25, this is the last time we did it. Okay, we're breaking our structure. Thank you.
25, weren't we 12? No.
12, exactly. And there's the laugh that I keep talking about because that was worth the whole show. Okay, If you don't mind describing what you're feeling, and I've got to go whooshing a little, sir. I'm going to go on an old bodyboarding trip, plus ask my crew to jack me up vibrationally.
Well, vibration just moved. I'm actually feeling quite hot, quite tingly, and there's a lot of expansion, like a lot of expansion in the field. I can feel it. Yeah.
And can I add to the mix? I'm going to, with my right hand, send rainbow light your way again on the highest vibe and letting angels really do the rainbow light. But there's one whoosh all over. And here comes a second and third. And I'm just, again, highest intent, but maximum wind in the sails is what I'll call it, and creativity. And a little later, you're like, oh my God, I got to get it out of me. And you do a cha-cha-cha in the kitchen. Okay. Okay. And this is only the fourth time I've done it on a show or anything publicly. And I'm owning it. So this is only like the 20th or 30th time max that I've done this in my life, but I was told this is what I do. So. And she can do the cigarette now. We are not going to admit that we smoke, but that's okay. Just kidding. Okay. So yeah, and I'm going to pull away. So people, if you could just bring your hand a little closer to the screen for folks, this is generic and we're doing the highest level of filtering. So it's only the highest soul to soul level interaction and love only. No one's dropping baggage on anyone else.
Nope.
No, only the highest. And we're trusting in angels to handle that communication.
Receiving that.
Yeah. And in doing so, the person who puts their hand out may feel a little sparkle. It could be on their toes. Craziest thing is you're putting all your blocks on your hand. You're staring, you're trying so hard. And then it's your back that you get the whoosh, or your toes. I still like the toes. Someone got sparkles in their toes instead of their hand. And if angels could start singing for you, because we're surprising you, it's like your birthday or they're doing a cameo or they show up at your door with a camera crew. If you could just hear singing around you a beautiful song or something gorgeous, yours truly woke up to a chime at 3 a.m., sounded like a chime out of Christmas Carol. And I ran out to my living room thinking it's an earthquake, an airliner had just crashed, but it's a gorgeous chime. Had I been more open, as we're witnessing with Tracy, I would have heard angels singing. A higher vibration was happening, but I was only willing to hear the chime at the time. This is like 10 or 11 years ago. So where you put yourself is where you put yourself. You don't have to open up the whole way, but there's no difference brushing your teeth and being open right now and doing any of this.
Yeah. Just hearing it and taking it all in. Yeah. Receive.
Oh my God. You are fun. Thank you so much for being in this show. And we'll have you back the second you say, I want to be back. But I think it's when you're going to be able to tell us some more about oceans. I think that's important.
Oh, you and I will be so mixing. And I have to say something really funny because.
Oh, yeah. No, more. Please tell. Oh,
okay. The reason I have to show you. So he's been quiet. As soon as you brought all the last energy in, he literally perked up out of his bed. He gets so excited and he came running over, grabbing my leg because he gets so excited when he sees all this big one was huge. So when he wakes up, I pay attention because he's like, they're here. And he's always telling me like, they're here. So he's like, oh, here I am. I'm at attention. Mom, pay attention. They're here. Oh, beautiful.
Here's Ginger the fairy. And you can ask Ginger if that one's got any aches or pains or just needs good dreams or chasing rabbits in the sleep. You can make any request to Ginger, but have a little chat real fast. You can see the rainbow light on the wings if I do this right. Hold on.
Beautiful. Yeah, you can see all the rainbow light.
Yeah, and dogs have guardian angels. So Claire, who you saw, the purple one, or the blue, purple, whose resilience is our Labradoodle's guardian angel. And then you didn't see Emily, but that's our Joy. Joy is the name of my dog, named after an angel. And then her guardian angel is Emily, but don't worry, she still represents humans. It's not like, the Discovery Channel and we're talking pet shows here. They still do human work and other work.
Well, I'll tell you sometimes when he's sitting there, because when you talk to him, he goes like this, right? But he'll look and he's like, ooh, and then he moves back and forth. I'm like, oh, somebody just came in. Which angel or guy just came in? Someone just came in. Yeah.
Oh my God. My cat Presley last night was 3 or 4 times staring over my shoulder at full. Get a lot of visitors in the house. It's not just one way or another or this way, but a lot of like, you're a little bit of a fish in a fish bowl. Yeah. So people pop by to see what's going on because there's a lot of love happening.
They do all the time. And it's beautiful because you see them, they see them, and everyone's having a happy time in the house. And it always raises a vibration when you notice that they're all there, right? Yeah.
And again, if anyone's made it this long, and I know plenty have, and plenty, they don't have to just be veteran intuitives, or they've read all of Don Miguel Ruiz's stuff, or Joe Dispenza, or gone to a retreat. You could be just willing to hear this, but allow for it. Don't be put off. Don't react. Don't judge. Don't think comparison to anything. You have the skill set, and we are talking literally to, and wrapping up her show, her appearance here on this episode, but she's all about the tools in your toolbox. She's got an amazing toolbox. She's helping you get into your garage and move it to the forefront and actually examine the tools and what you're comfortable using, what you're kind of like 50% on, and what you're like, okay, it's going to be a few steps, but you can still own it next week.
Yeah. And not only own it, but I really like I said, that the more you own it, the more empowered you feel, the more in alignment you are. And the more we all keep doing this and growing, the more we're contributing to the world, and we're changing things so fast. And it's just the tools. When I say your little toolbox, and it might just be thanking spirit all day long, but when you're really willing to go within, it can feel a little bumpy, but trust me, and I know you know this, it is so worth the ride. So worth the ride. There's nothing I would change today. And if I had to come back and do it again, I would, the same way.
And I've got to say, given her history, what she's been through, that is a big statement. So if you read her book, you'd be like, oh my God, are you sure you want to sign on the dotted line? And she just said yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Then
Okay.
those lessons, you don't have to come back and do it again. You can do something different.
Exactly. Well, Tracy, thank you very much for being on the show. Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure.